This is the bonus episode of Flying Flamingo Jade, Girls Just Want to Fly, episode 16. Hey, hello everyone, Sean Simons, PPG Grandpa. Welcome to PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast. You also find us at clearproptv.com. And if you just want to listen to us, it's paratalk.org. Every Wednesday night, paramotorgirl.com, also known as Flying Flamingo Jade, has an all-girl podcast, and we get to rebroadcast it. Here's episode 16 of Girls Just Want to Fly.
Tonight, guys, we have a special guest. She's an 18-year-old college student, and she is a private pilot. She has her private pilot's license, and she has instrument ratings, and she is also a skydiving student. She is not into PPG yet. So let's welcome Lily Horst from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Lily, are you out there?
I am.
Hey, Lily. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining in with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, taking time away from your studies at college. What college are you going to?
I am at Westchester University.
Okay. And what are you going for school for?
And I'm currently majoring in communication studies, but that is likely to change, but we shall see.
Okay. First year, right?
Yep. Freshman.
Okay. How far are you from home?
I am about an hour from home. On Fridays, it's like an hour and 20 because traffic from Philadelphia is a real thing. So it takes a little bit longer, but yeah.
Okay. So do you do your flying where you're at school or back home by mom and dad?
So I go back home to fly. So I'm typically home 3 times a week. I typically go home either Friday night or Saturday morning, and then I'm there till Sunday night. And then I typically try to get home on either a Tuesday or a Thursday as well, because I'm done with classes at 9:15. So it's super easy to get home to fly with my flight instructor.
Okay. All right. Krista, you got anything?
How did you get into flying?
Yeah. So my whole family is into flying. I'm a 3rd-gen pilot on my dad's side. And my grandpa got into it, I'm not even sure how many years ago. And that followed all of his children. So his sons both got into it. And his daughter, my aunt, took lessons, and she got all the way up to her solo cross country. And she freaked out. She just did not like flying that far alone, and that ended that progression pretty quickly. And but her husband actually ended up getting into it, so he's a pilot. He's the pilot of their family, and then of the 10 grandchildren, I'm the only one to have taken it up so far.
And you've got siblings, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I have 2 sisters. They're they enjoy getting in the airplane with my dad, but they're not oh, I really want to go get my license.
What about the boyfriend?
Nope.
Not even a foot in the airplane yet, you said, right?
Nope, not even a foot in the airplane yet.
And he's a firefighter, you said?
He is, yeah. Yep. So he's got his interior rating, so he's fully certified. I'm super proud of him, obviously. And he's in college as well.
Okay. And what is he going to school for?
Nursing. So
Sweet.
He's going to get his BSN.
Very nice. We need lots of the nurses out there right now.
Yes.
Anybody in the medical field, that's for sure. All right. Krista, do you want to talk a little bit about the scholarship at all? And anything that I know last night it was brought up, and it's a more of a to be continued, right? Until the gentleman, Mr. Jeff, sets things up, right?
Yeah. So he put it out, I think in February, they'll know who the scholarship is going to go to. But I'm not really sure how they're picking the child yet. We did ask if we could please be a part of it. And obviously we'll make sure everybody knows about it. But February is when he's announcing whoever the student is. And the principal of the school is aware, and I'm assuming maybe he's the one picking. I'm clueless, honestly.
Okay.
We were kind of floored by it. So.
But what I got out of it last night was that he will get us information as to anybody wanting to donate for the scholarship also, correct?
Correct. And he gave his address out, which he lives behind us. We didn't know that. Yeah, he was a history teacher at a middle school. He taught our daughter. And Shane helped him coach track with our son. But he never taught Gage. He just knew about him, I guess, because he's just that kind of kid. But so when he passed, I guess he felt like he wanted to honor his friend. So he did a scholarship for him at his alma mater. And then he also wanted to do one for, which it wasn't Johnson, but middle school. They eventually go to college. So he is taking a high school senior. And the bottom that they would get would be 500. So anything else over that is what we're all trying to raise for this chosen year.
I know a lot of the guys had questions about it last night. So I'm willing to help out, get that out there as soon as he gets any of that information, that we can get that out so people can donate if they're wanting to do so.
Yeah, he left a thing on our door regarding the other scholarship information. I just haven't read it yet, so I'll have to read up on that for the other gentleman.
All right. So Lily, what type, when did you start flying?
Yeah, so I started flying. I was put in the cockpit. It's just an itty little baby. I took my first airplane ride before I could even remember it. They put me in the front seat of a J3 Cub, strapped to my mom's lap, and I cried the whole time, wailed my eyes out, hated it.
How old?
Fast forward. What was that?
How old were you?
Probably 2.
Okay.
So, yep. So fast forward, growing up, then I grew up right on the airport I fly out of. Dad owns a company there, very involved in just the airport community that my airport has. And when I was about 14, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in learning how to fly. And my dad was like, okay, that's funny. You're like 14. Like, I was like, no, seriously, Dad, I want flight lessons. And he was like, I'm not paying for you to have flight lessons yet. So the deal was that once I could fly completely around the pattern in the Cub, without him saying anything, he would get me a flight instructor. So that took me about a year, just super inconsistent flying, doing whatever. And in that time, he bought the Cessna 150 I currently have. He's just always been like a Cessna enthusiast. He loves the simplicity of the 150. Who doesn't? They're great airplanes. I adore ours, and he refurbished that. So when I was 15, I was like, I want to solo on my 16th birthday, which is the earliest that you can legally solo an airplane. And he was like, well, you fulfilled the deal, so here's a flight instructor. And he set me up with my first flight instructor, Abby, when I was about 15 and a half. That was, oh, wow, that feels like so long ago. That was fall of my sophomore year of high school. That sounds so young. Holy cow. And wow, sorry, that's like the first time I've said it out loud, and I'm like, that's so young. Who lets a kid fly an airplane? So then, on my 16th birthday, it was Mother's Day that year, and I woke up and it was raining, and I just remember crying because you can't solo in the rain as a student pilot. 2 days later, I went to the DMV and soloed an airplane in the same day, played hooky from school. It was a great day. That's kind of how I got into it.
Wow. That's awesome. So you have a plane?
We have 2 planes in my intermediate family, like my dad and my mom. And then we have 3 planes that get shared among my grandparents and my dad's siblings. And then my dad's brother has 2 planes as well. So we have quite the fleet.
So which one do you fly?
I fly a lime green Cessna 150. Her name is Cheryl. That is the one I primarily fly. We have a Cessna 182 as well that I've had to that I've gotten to fly a couple times. I'm starting to get more comfortable in that. I'm not insured yet. Apparently it's really expensive to insure an 18-year-old on an airplane. Go figure, right? They barely want to insure us in cars. And then I've also had the opportunity to fly my flight instructor's Bonanza.
Wow.
But primarily I fly Cheryl.
Is it a V-tail?
He has a straight tail Bonanza.
Straight tail. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anybody got any questions in the chat at all for Lily yet? Krista, you got anything yet?
Shane did put in the information regarding the scholarship.
Yes, great.
So just so let you know that.
So that would be Jeff's YouTube video explaining everything about it. Yep. That's awesome. And like I said, both of us, we'll get more information out as you find any further information, or if Jeff puts any more out on that YouTube channel also. What kind of, did you have something, Krista? Sorry.
Yeah. Are you the oldest grandchild since there's 10?
There's 10 of us. I am the fourth.
Oh, okay.
So, yep. And then I have an older sister and a younger sister in my family.
So what kind of licensing do you need for that type of aviation?
So right now for flying a Cessna 150, I really just needed my private. And when I started flying, that was the goal. I was like, hey, I'm just gonna get my private pilot's license. That's what my dad has. He's got a good time with that. He pots all over the country in that Cessna 150 with my mom, and it's a great life. And like, that's all I really need. That'll fulfill the want. As I started going farther into my training, I was like, oh, I could do a lot more with an instrument rating. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to, spend the extra couple months and I'm just going to power through the instrument rating. I'll be able to fly down to more weather minimums, like lower cloud ceilings and stuff. And through clouds, like it broadens, a lot of what you can do as a pilot, as well as just your general knowledge of aviation. So I feel like that's a super important thing to have. So I finished that up in May. So, but really, as far as just to fly the airplane that I have, I really just needed the private.
So what does the instrument rating mean?
The instrument rating allows me to fly into clouds, lower weather minimums. So if the ceilings are 1,000 feet, I couldn't really do a lot or go very far in my airplane with just a private certificate. And so the instrument allows me to go a lot farther. Like I said, it also broadens your knowledge just in general of aviation and rules and things you should know that I feel are pretty important. So.
Right. Okay. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat.
Sure.
Cat Girl is asking, what would you possibly change your major to?
I'm currently communications, and I'm really bored with that. So, I am only 5 weeks into my semester, but I started my course scheduling actually this week for next semester already. And I realized that it's going to be a lot of gen eds all the way through, which is like any major. But I'd really like to buckle down and focus on something. So I'm looking at going to business management or something in the business field. If the airlines don't work out, I feel like I'd be able to do a lot broader of things with a business degree than I would a communications degree.
Okay. Deweese Milstead is asking, do you plan on flying a paramotor? Told you.
Not right now. So
tell us why.
So I am I'm a pilot. So that consumes a lot of studying, a lot of time, a lot of money. Now I am blessed because I'm in a situation where I don't have to pay for a lot of my flying. My flight instructor is a family friend, and so he flies me for pretty cheap. And then the airplane my family owns. So, that combined, I'm able to do it at a much cheaper rate than many others. However, skydiving, when I chose to get into it, my parents were like, well, you already have one expensive hobby, so we're not funding the other one. So I pay for my skydiving on my own. So that's pretty much why paramotoring is out of the option for me right now.
So what does it cost to do skydiving?
So skydiving I'm at $80 a jump right now, give or take what drop zone I'm at. So I'm a student, And then I also pay for gear rental because I am not in a position to really buy my own skydiving rig right now. You know, that's anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000, depending on, you know, what you're getting. However, I am once again incredibly blessed because all of the coaches at my drop zone don't charge me to jump with them. So I'm like jumping at like a discounted price just because of the people in my life that make it possible for me to do it. So that's really awesome.
Nice. Krista, you got anything?
Do you want to be a commercial pilot at all?
Yeah, so the airlines are the goal. So right now I'm currently working on my commercial pilot certificate. And so basically when people say commercial pilot, you know, they think, I'm guessing you're thinking like a big airliner, like a Boeing or an Airbus or something. So that's your airline transport pilot, which is a whole separate thing that like people don't even know exists. So I'm currently working on my commercial certificate, which just allows me to get paid to fly. So hopefully next season at this time, I'll be I'll be flying skydivers and jumping when I'm not flying. So that's the goal.
Slow Days is asking, any interest in the military?
I've thought about it a little bit. I just don't know if right now that's something that's really in the books for me. I really like the kind of the idea of the airlines. I don't know how family life would work out with the military. I don't really love being away from home. That's why I'm only an hour with college. I'm kind of a homebody, so like, you know, max 3-4 days, which is like perfect for the airlines. But as far as military, that's not really in the books right now. Here's to say anything can happen in the future. So.
And before the show started, I did tell her guys about maybe getting in contact with Michelle Helms, who is an international commercial pilot also. So I'd like to get you set up to ask her questions in any
that'd be
way
awesome.
also. Yeah. And if you get a chance to maybe watch her video when she was a guest also.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Looking to see if there's any other.
Mark is in the chat too, so he can probably give her information.
Yep. Will Fly says, I understand that you want to be to get your commercial license. Do you want to become a flight instructor also?
So here's my thing about flight instructing. It doesn't really sound like the most enjoyable thing to me. So I'm planning on getting the commercial rating, and then I also plan on getting the instructing rating. It looks good on a resume to have. And I feel like at some point, flying skydivers is going to get boring for me. As much as I love the sport, as much as I love everything about it, you know, you only get so entertained flying the same route over and over again all day, every day. So having the instructor certificate will be a good, you know, if that's something I, you know, choose to go into, it'll be something I already have, as well as the fact that, you know, I'm all about broadening my knowledge and you can't know everything. And so I want to try and know as much as I can. So getting the instructor certificate allows me to just continue learning. So in short, yes, I'll be getting my instructing certificate, but I don't know if I will use it at some point.
Okay. Tony Marzano wants to ask, how many jumps do you have? Or did you? Oh, no, we didn't ask that yet.
She's getting there.
Yep. So how many jumps do you have?
So I currently have 11. I have 10 solo jumps and 1 tandem jump.
Okay. Tell us about the tandem jump.
So I did my tandem jump on my 18th birthday. I live right by the airport. The drop zone that I jump at is on the airport that I live by. And basically my flight instructor, you know, I've since moved from my original flight instructor into my current flight instructor, Jeff. And he's a skydiver. His son's a skydiver. His son's a year older than I am. And so we're friends. And basically I was just engulfed in this world of skydiving, but I was like, you know, too young to do it. And so I was like, for a whole like 17 to 18, I was like, okay, like when I turn 18, I gotta go skydiving. Like I gotta see what this is all about, you know, get up to the drop zone on my 18th birthday, get all harnessed up. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like, well, I was like, what am I doing? But I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be really cool. Like I'm gonna really love this. But then the other part of me was like, I might hate it. Like you're probably gonna hate it, but you might love it, if that makes sense. There's just a lot going through your mind when you're about to throw yourself out of an airplane attached to somebody else. The other thing is I love having control of what I'm doing. And when you're tandem, you don't have any control of what's happening. You are fully trusting the other person. And even though I completely trust George, which is the guy I was jumping with, he's my boss. He's a family friend of ours. I 100% trust that guy. I was terrified, got up to altitude. They opened they shout door, that door opens, that cold air comes in. It was the middle of May and he threw me out and I was like, I hate this. I got down on the ground. I felt sick when the parachute opened. In the video, you can see, I was like, I don't feel so good. And it was just overall like not an experience I really enjoyed. And that was my tandem. And I was like, I'm never doing this again.
So what did they count to? 1, 2.
He said, what did he say? He was like, put your feet out on the step. And I completely missed the step. So I just had my feet just dangling like 10,000 feet in the air out of the Cessna 182, just like there. I was like, I'm the kind of person who like walks up to a cliff and like, sits with their legs dangling over it. Like that's my personality. So that to me wasn't like, and then before I knew it, he just kind of chucked us out. And I was just like, how did you do that with such ease?
So a couple of people want to know if you ever did any base jump or ever want to.
No and no. I have my personal feelings on base jumping. I just don't think that there's enough time, depending on what jump you're doing, to let your reserve go if you need it. That's the whole reason it's there. It's a backup. We're all about safety. We're jumping out of airplanes, but we make it as safe as we can. So we have backups, backups. Like if, when shit hits the fan, sorry, I just swore, but we want to be prepared. So base jumping is probably a hard no for me. That's probably not ever going to happen.
What's your scariest moment that you can think of either? Okay, let's start with skydiving.
Yeah. So actually this past weekend, I was jumping. I was on my second jump of the weekend. It was Sunday. It was a gorgeous day. And I was working on, I was in a 10-second free fall and working on a step exit, which was new for me. From that point, I just kind of been hanging on the strut and I let go of the strut. And when you let go of the strut, you fall in a position that puts you right into your arch. There's very little room for error. And so the step exit, I really, got in the airplane with the wrong mindset. I think that that's where things may have gone wrong on this particular jump. Got in the airplane. I had other things on my mind. I was not 100% focused when I should have been. And I got on the step. I did my count next to my flight instructor. And so my flight instructor is also my skydiving instructor, just fun fact. So him and I are really close. Did my count, released off, and things were good. I was stable for a while. And about 5 seconds into the 10-second free fall, I was supposed to turn to look at my instructor, and I turned too fast, and I was not able to counteract the turn, which put me in kind of an uncontrolled spin, where I then could not be, I wasn't able to see my altimeter on my wrist. So that freaked me out enough that I just pulled the parachute while I knew I was above my decision altitude, which is 2,500. And your decision altitude is when you pull, if you decide if you're going to pull your reserve or not. You want things to be kind of settled in before 2,500. And I pulled and I was like, holy cow, that was terrifying. I was like I've never felt so out of control in my life. So anyway, after that, I just booked 10 minutes in the wind tunnel in King of Prussia, which is near Philadelphia, because I really want to make sure that I have my body position figured out before I jump again, so that doesn't happen again. Because Monday morning, I woke up with some serious whiplash, to say the least, just because of how hard the opening ended up being.
Wow. What is the elevation that you should be pulling it at again?
So right now I'm getting out at 6,000, and then I free fall to 4,000. And we were able to watch back actually the video. It wasn't I think it was my flight instructor. That's what it was. My flight instructor remembered looking at his altimeter at 3,700, and I was pulling. So
how long does it take you to go from jumping out at 6,000 down to 4,000. What's the time frame?
It's about a 10-second free fall.
Hmm.
10 to 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
The other scary moment I had skydiving was on my first jump. My parachute opened and my lines were all twisted. And I was like, well, that's great for me. First jump right out of the ground school. And I'm like, look up, I'm like, oh, well, that's that. I know that doesn't look right. So I sat there and I fixed that. I looked like a fool, like twisting and turning in my harness, trying to get my lines untwisted, but they came untwisted, no problem. So
what caused that?
I'm light and it was windy, and it was similar to a static line jump. That's the progression I did. I don't know if any of you viewers are familiar with skydiving. You can do an AFF progression, which is accelerated free fall, or you can do an IAD, which is instructor assisted deployment, which is essentially the same as static line. So I did a IAD, and I was just light. My lines twisted. My arch was a little weird when I let go of the strut, and things came out twisted. It happens.
Wow. So that's one of the questions that I think Tony's done skydiving, or he's a daredevil out in Las Vegas. He asked if, did you go through AFF? And can you explain that? Dummy that down for me.
Yeah. So I played with the idea of AFF when I was like thinking about maybe so I worked at the drop zone all summer, which is how I went from I'm never doing this again to I'm completely addicted. I'm all in, basically it was enough bullying, if you will, of, oh, come on, you got to try this. Oh, come on, you got to try this. Everyone says that your first jump is sensory overload. That's what I've heard. And wow, is that true? I didn't know what to do with the wind in my face. I didn't know what to do with the out of control, like somebody else was in charge of what was happening. And so, yeah, going from that to a solo jump is like, now I'm slowly progressing into it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is getting more, you go from no free fall to a 5-second free fall to 10 to 15, you just build up until you're jumping out at 10,000 feet or 13, whatever kind of airplane you're in. So that is, the progression I did, if that makes sense. Like I said, I did IAD, not AFF. So AFF is like your first jump, you're jumping out at full altitude and you're pulling your own parachute. At least I think. I'm not very familiar with AFF. But you have instructors holding on to you. Whereas IAD, you're completely solo the whole time.
Wow. Angela Preslick is asking, have you ever pulled your reserve?
I have not. Thank the Lord. Some of these skydivers, every time we get in the airplane, we go through the maneuver, right side pull, left side pull. That's a movement that I know swiftly. I have ingrained into my brain now. The day I had the line twist, my very first jump, I thought about it. I was, trying to untwist my lines, and I was looking at my altitude. I knew that I didn't have a stable canopy and that I would not be able to land the canopy, especially being my first jump, if I had to basically, land it with that leg. So I would have to pull the reserve. That was my other option if I could not get the lines untwisted. And then on Sunday, had I fallen another 1,000 feet, without pulling my parachute, my reserve would have gone automatically for me.
Okay. Krista, you got any questions?
I did. She kind of answered it, but so your first skydiving tandem, and it was horrible. You were sick and you did it again. Why? So
like I said, I did my tandem, was like, oh, that's a no-go. That's a hard pass ever again. And then I worked at the drop zone all summer, and I fell in love with the people there. They became like a second family to me. Really just got there were people I trusted even more. And so at the end of the summer, they were like, we are doing a ground school course for our pilot, who's super into it. He's ex-military and stuff, and was like, oh yeah, really also, he was the same situation. I also, after being around it all summer, I really want to try it, get into it. They're like, well, we're doing the initial ground. And, me who loves to learn, I'm a natural learner, was like, well, I'd love to learn. I want to know what there is about it. So I'll come to the course. Right. So I went, and they were like, your first jump, there's not even any free fall. And I was like, oh, I'm okay with that. I love the canopy part. If I could just ride under the canopy all day, paramotoring, I'd be happy as a clam. So I did the, the first few, and then my 5-second free fall, I was like, oh wait, that's not so bad, actually. So like I said, now I'm just into the free fall progression, and I'm slowly starting to fall in love with free fall more than canopy. So it's interesting how it happened. I don't really have an explanation for it. My parents were definitely confused, to say the least, because they were like, wait a minute, this was not the deal. This was not the deal. So yeah, they make a joke. They're like, oh yeah, how's that never doing it again going? I'm like, yeah, shut up.
Do they skydive?
They do not. Nope. So my dad's a pilot. They watch from the hangar. My mom stands firmly on the fact that she does not want to know before I get in the airplane. She wants to hear from me after I get out of the airplane. She's pretty set on not wanting to know what load I'm in. They were there for the big milestones. Like the first time I pulled my own parachute, they were there for that. They came up. So they're all supportive, but it definitely makes my mom nervous more than my dad.
Agreed.
Like Tony says, don't thank the Lord, thank the person that packs your chute.
Yeah. I packed my chute that time, so
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see, what else? Do you ever want okay, that's not for the question. Krista, you got anything?
So are you going to try to talk your siblings into becoming a pilot with you, or at least skydiving?
My older sister has brought up the idea of going skydiving, so I think that next season I'm going to try and get her to come. Tom, our rigger, who's also one of my friends, is like, oh, I'll give her a cookie if she comes skydiving. And she's like, I don't really want your cookie. So I think I'm going to get her to try and come skydiving. My little sister showed no interest in either. My older sister showed a little bit of interest in flying when she was about 16. And then she got her driver's permit and was like, oh, that's more interesting to me. And things took off with that.
And how old are they?
Abby is 20 and my little sister Gracie just turned 16.
Okay. So the little one, though, is probably concentrating on her driver's license right now.
Yeah, exactly. And they're both equestrians. They're pretty competitive in their riding. So I think that that's pretty much where their focus is.
Oh, that's cool. Trying to
When do
think.
you have to do your distance flight? The one when your aunt gave up?
What was that?
Your cross-country flight. When are you doing that, or have you done it?
Yep. So I did that during my private pilot progression, which was, I did that last summer after my junior year of high school. Sorry. Especially with COVID, things just blended together and I don't know what's what anymore. And so I did that. My first solo cross country, I remember calling my flight instructor the night before it and crying. I was so scared. He's an airline pilot, so he was on a trip to God knows where. And I called him in tears and I was like, Jeff, I'm so scared. I can't do this. And he was like, you've been doing it for years, just with someone else there. Like, you've been flying the airplane. You've been doing everything that needs done. The only difference is you're the only one there. I was like, I know. I like the buffer of the extra person. So yeah, I did that when I was 17.
Where'd you fly to?
I went to Williamsport Airport. It's like central Pennsylvania, like in between Pittsburgh and Philly. It's pretty much like right smack in the middle.
Tony's got another question. And do you jump with your own gear or do you still use student gear?
I'm using student gear. So Tony, if you're familiar with skydiving, I'm currently jumping a 260 canopy. Just because I'm really light, we're trying to get me down to a 210. We just need to find a student 210. But yeah, I'm getting my own altimeter for Christmas, so that's exciting. But
he also said that you're pretty lucky to be so close to a drop zone.
I'm really lucky. Yeah, I have 2 drop zones within a half hour of me, so it's really awesome. Even at college, the furthest one is, my home drop zone or an hour the other way. So
I'm trying to catch up on the questions here. Deweese has got a question on how many hours flying and skydiving do you have?
I have 264 hours flying, 264 point something. I don't really remember what it is. And then skydiving, like I said, I have 11 jumps. So as far as time goes, I have like 30 seconds in free fall and 11 jumps.
Do your ears pop when you jump?
Right now they're not. I'm still at a low enough altitude, but that's not really a problem. I think once I'm getting up into the, 8s and 10s, then it's gonna be more of a problem. But so I grew up flying around in the backseat of our airplanes up at, 6, 8, 10,000 without headsets on. So the concept of ears popping is like I'm used to it. Like it's not something that really phases me too much anymore.
So a couple of people want to ask where you're at and where you're doing this.
So I train out of Lancaster Airport. And I just skydive out of Smoketown Airport. Well, I do a lot of my training out of Lancaster. My airplane lives at Smoketown Airport. And the drop zone that I'm at is Skydive Lancaster. We're still pretty new. We don't have an official student progression program. It's kind of like there's a couple of us who have shown interest and are friends with the owner, who are able to do our student progression there. And so that's where I do all of my flying out of. That's where my dad's company is. Yeah.
Tony's also asking what state. Tony, look at my beautiful
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yes, land of the farms.
Is it?
Not a lot here. We have the Amish. We're a huge tourist destination. Holy cow.
How close are you to Hershey?
From my house, like 35 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yep. So we go up to Hershey Park for the day over the summer. Like that's something I go with my friends. Yeah.
So is that like an amusement park?
Yep. So it's an amusement park, and then they have like Chocolate World as well, which are like, I'm sure you're familiar with Hershey chocolate bars and stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Krista, you got anything else?
I did not know that it was an amusement park.
Yeah, they have an amusement park. It's quite the thing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So the area I'm from is actually really commercialized and like a huge tourist destination, just because people are attracted to the Amish, and then they go up to, they come in from Philadelphia, New York City, these big cities, and they come out to the middle of nowhere, see the Amish. They crave the simplicity, apparently. I can't figure it out, if I'm being honest. And then they go up to Hershey Park for the day. It's the most interesting thing. I really can't figure it out.
Okay, I'm getting questions from the husband. He says he's been to Lancaster in the past for some training, and he wants to know if you've ever been to a restaurant called Boobies.
I've not.
He says it's a cave restaurant.
I don't know. I've never heard of it, and I've never been to it.
And he also wants to know the name of the other towns near Hershey or Lancaster.
Big tourist one is Intercourse, which is located right next to the Blue Ball.
What?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. Look it up on a map.
Is there another one?
And Harrisburg are near me as well.
No, Hand in the. What did you say?
Hand in the bush.
Burden Hand. Burden Hand.
Burden Hand.
That's where I'm from.
Hand in the bush.
I knew something like that.
I'm from Burden Hand. Yep. That's my like hometown.
Krista, should we go there for vacation?
Oh my gosh. It's quite an experience.
Very excited.
Let me tell you, there's a thing called Kitchen Kettle. This is like a multi-million-dollar organization. I worked for them for 4 years, and they like would bring in like it's I don't even know how to explain it. Okay, it is like people come to see the Amish and buy jams and jellies and salsas, and it's this village of different stores. And I worked in the jam and jelly shop, and on a Saturday in the fall and the summer, we would bring in $100,000 just that store.
Wow.
It is the most absurd thing. I can't figure it out. I can't.
Did you try the jams and jellies?
I did. I wasn't too impressed by them, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I was like, I like my Smucker's grape jelly. I'm good with that. But yeah, they have like every type of jam and jelly you can imagine, man. It was insane. And then there's the whole concept of the horse and buggies on the road. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on what a nuisance these are. And then the tourists that won't pass them.
I'm
like,
this
this is
taking video and they want to see it. It's cool.
And they stop to take pictures of the cows. I'm like, they're just cows that go moo. I can't. I could get on my soapbox about this topic because it's like, it's insane to me. And like, people don't understand that like, this is the one case to pass a horse and buggy that you can cross the double yellow. Like, just cross the double yellow to go around the buggy. And then what's the other thing about just like my hometown that, oh my gosh, the Amish, man. I've messed with them. They're lovely people. They're very nice. They're just like a nuisance. Terrible.
Deweese from Mississippi said she grew up in Doylestown.
Yeah, Doylestown. Yep. That's like, I don't even know. I've never driven out to Doylestown, but I know the name. And I know that when we get like tornado alerts or something, like it's in the same, like it pops up on the bottom of the TV. I think that's like an hour and a half from me, but I could be wrong. Don't mark my words on that.
And Angela from Las Vegas, that's with Tony. I'm not surprised, Angela. She said she went to kindergarten in Intercourse, and she said her mom hated sending Christmas cards when they lived there.
Yep. Oh, you went to kindergarten in Intercourse. I don't know what school you went to. That's just sparked my interest. Small world. That's insane.
Yeah, and Linda says she's jamming now. Sure, what kind of jamming she's jamming.
Is she listening to music jamming or is she making a jam?
Probably both. Wait till you meet her. Let's see, what else? So yeah, that would be, that's one area I would like to go see. I've never been.
Well, it's an area, that's for sure.
We do have the county that I grew up in, they have Amish and Mennonites there. And when Eric and I were camping one time in a different county, they all had like little phone booths out at the end of their long driveways. Do you know what those are for? They look like they have what?
They all have cell phones.
Yeah. So
like what?
Well, yeah. Then those are considered Mennonites, though, aren't they?
Yeah. So like Mennonites can have like, that's the common thought. Everyone's like, oh, the Amish don't have cell phones. Yeah, that's what you say until you're out mini golfing and they lose the golf ball and they all whip out their iPhones with their flashlights.
So what we were told, this little school bus stop or phone booth looking thing at the end of the driveway is they have an iPad sitting out there to make their phone calls because they're not allowed to do any communication like that, upgraded stuff in their homes.
Yeah, I mean, and on my way to church on Sundays, I pass an Amish guy with a solar powered Tesla. The world's a crazy place.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Jedediah's got the Tesla.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. Well, good for them.
Yeah.
It's good for the environment.
Yeah, it is good for the environment. That is an accurate statement.
Oh, and never trust a skinny chef. Shane wants to know if Eric's pitching a tent.
What the hell does that mean?
With Jedediah. So what else can you tell us? You're like an open book. You're lovely. This is pretty cool. Learning more about your area and you. Hey, let's talk about paramotoring.
Okay.
When do you want to start?
So it's funny because my boss or one of my managers at the company I worked, the drop site I worked at this summer, they're all into paramotoring, her and her husband, and they just get on their paramotors and they bebop along at 2,500 feet. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm like, that looks awesome. I'd rather jump out of an airplane. I think that's more my speed, but that looks great That looks great for you.
Well, you've got to meet Jen from Nebraska then, that was just on our show a couple weeks ago. She's a hoot. I think she'd be fun to hang with. Oh, and Angela says granola pie from the Amish is the bomb.
Granola pie. I can't say I've ever heard of that or had it. I'm more of a shoe fly pie kind of person. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like molasses and like, oh my gosh, over like a bowl of ice cream, just like warmed up. Oh, it's the best thing ever. Best thing ever.
Oh, and Nick Griffith says, isn't everyone that's cool into paramotoring?
Guess I'm not cool then. I don't really know what to say.
So do they do paramotoring at your airport?
Not a lot of it. There's a couple people that come out. There's like not, there's I think a guy has a paramotor in his like 150 hangar or something. So they're definitely out there, but we don't have like an organized club or anything near us. Most people go out to Maytown to paramotor just because it's a little bit quieter of an airport. So that's about 30 minutes. It's out towards Harrisburg.
Okay. So how many would you say are out that way?
Maytown, I have no clue. At Smoketown, there was actually like last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I looked outside and there were like 6 up there. And I was like, holy cow, I've never seen so many in one spot. Turns out it was my boss and her husband and some friends. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So
how far are you from Jersey Shore Airport? Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
Pennsylvania?
like Ocean City, New Jersey. Is that what
Nope.
they're asking, do you think?
Is it?
Jersey Shore Airport.
Jersey Shore.
It's in
Yeah, so that's
Pennsylvania,
probably
though.
Ocean City. It's about an hour flight. So that's where I take people, you know, on the summer. If I want to go to the beach, I don't get in the car and drive
No.
the 2 hours.
She's in the middle of Pennsylvania, though.
Southeast Pennsylvania.
Southeast.
So I'm about an hour and a half outside of Philadelphia,
Okay.
a little bit south of Philly.
You know what?
Fresh Prince.
Oh, Eric wants to know if you know Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Not personally, I'm familiar with it. Wish I knew him personally.
Right.
Have you gone to any fly-ins?
What was that?
Have you gone to any fly-ins like Oshkosh where they have all the different?
Yeah, so I went to Oshkosh in 2014 was my first time out there. And that was like before I was super into airplanes. So then this year, my dad was like, oh, I'm going to Oshkosh with some friends. And I was like,
What?
and I like the initial invite did not include me. So I started, a riot. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't fair. And it was him and 2 of his friends. And so I actually did end up getting to go. They weren't sure if they'd have an extra seat on the airplane they took out, but they ended up, they did. So I got to go, which was super cool. So it was like, we went out for 3 days, but it was the perfect amount of time. Saw what I wanted to see, hung out with, I have some friends off the TikTok community who I was able to meet up with and hang out with them. And that was super cool. What are the other, I've not been to Sun and Fun. My grandpa goes down to Sun and Fun. He went down every year leading up to 2018. He took his Fairchild 71, which is a historic aircraft. I don't know if there's any aviation enthusiasts who have been to Sun and Fun or Oshkosh. I don't know if you know the name or not of the Fairchild 71, but it's the only one in the world right now flying, I think, that's up with its currency and whatnot. And so I'd like to get down to Sun and Fun at some point. That'd definitely be a goal of mine. But Oshkosh is up. I go to little local fly-ins all the time. It's always fun getting out of the airplane alone as a girl, and everyone's like, "Wait, what? Like, where's your flight instructor?" I'm like, "It's just me." So that's always fun.
I'm trying to figure out how I caught on to you. Was it on TikTok or was it just Facebook?
I'm in a lot of like girls in aviation groups on Facebook. I don't have a big TikTok following, but I have like 3,000 followers, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 3,500. I have an Instagram, like a pilot Instagram handle, which I know you just found today because I was sitting in class and I got the notification that you followed me. And I was like, I couldn't answer your text, but I was like, oh, she found it. That's great.
Yep. That's when I was like making my TikTok video for you. Hey, do you have any videos, pictures that you want to share?
Yeah, give me 1 second to get those set up.
Krista, do you have any other questions in the meantime while she's...
Just when the pictures are showing who they are, because
Yeah.
there's the one where she was skydiving with 4 people. Obviously, we know which one you were, but
Yeah. So, how do I do this? Nope, that was not the right thing. Give me 1 second. Okay, share content. I know that there's a screen share thing and I could see it earlier and I cannot find it.
the 3 dots.
I don't know if this is the right thing. Sorry, I'm not very techie. I don't know if this is gonna work. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that this is the right way to share it, but we're gonna do that. So that's me in the front of a PC-12, and that's when I fell in love with PC-12s. I was little, probably like 7 or 8. My dad worked for a company at the time that flew PC-12s, and they took me up there, and I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" So that's that. This is okay. There has to be a more effective way for me to do this. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I know we even went over how to share the screen.
Better
And
you than me because I
For
always
some
have the
reason,
technical problems.
okay, more the meeting settings. Don't mind me, everybody. Just trying to figure out technology here. Okay, I'll just keep doing it this way. That works, I guess. Oh, share screen right in front of me. Okay. And it says that it's broadcasting.
Yep.
All right, awesome. There's
There.
my airplane, as you can see. So there's me in front of the PC-12. I already talked about that one. This is the day of my first solo on my 16th birthday. Or I guess it was 2 days after my 16th birthday. You can see the weather's still kind of crappy. We were in like a really weird low pressure system that just felt like it was never ending. And then that shirt is like the crustiest thing ever. I remember I forgot that they cut the back of your shirt off basically when you solo. And so I needed I just took one of my dad's company's spare work shirts and threw it on because I was wearing like a really nice shirt that day.
Well, what's wrong with wearing a nice shirt?
I really liked that shirt, so I didn't want to have the back cut off. I wanted to wear it again.
Oh.
Why did they cut your shirt?
It represents like, I guess in the olden days, like when they would solo a student, like it represents like cutting you free or something like that. And like you're like really on your own now. There's some sort of representation behind it. And if I'm being honest, I never really figured it out. I just know that it's something that gets done. So yeah, it's interesting if you ask me. This is me in the front of a caravan, Cessna 208. And basically the story behind this picture is my mom and my aunt were supposed to skydive that day. And we were having a boogie at my airport or my drop zone, which is basically when they get a bunch of people together and they advertise it super big and like try to get as many people out to jump. And they rented this caravan for the weekend. And so my friend Dalton, which if I zoom in on this picture, he's in the red helmet there. He's a skydiver. He's my flight instructor's son. Flew with me the previous day in a Cessna 140, which is similar to what I have. And he was like, "Oh, you gotta ask Dave if you can take a ride in the caravan." And I was like, "Okay." So, the next day comes around and my mom and my aunt's skydive gets canceled because of the really low ceiling. So they couldn't get all the way up to altitude. So this was about 4,000, 5,000 feet. Just kidding. Looking at the altimeter zoomed in on the picture, it's 2,000, but we were climbing about 4,000 or 5,000. And basically I got in the airplane because Dave was going to give me what I thought was a ride. And this man started showing me how to like pre-flight it and start it and whatnot. And that was the day that it flipped for me that I was like, oh, I don't want to just have my private. Like I want to go all the way through and I want to go to the airlines. So this was last year about this time. And I was just wrapping up my private pilot's license. And yeah, this was like my clicking point. So I give that credit to my flight instructor, Jeff, who was able to get me in that caravan. And I like logged 30 minutes of turbine time, and like it was awesome. So that was definitely a cool experience for me. Dalton was super salty because he just got a ride and he did not get to fly it. Sucks to suck. That's all I have to say. This picture was the day I passed my private pilot's license check ride. So that was a year and a half of like actual training and studying leading up to that moment. I hit a plateau, and so it was finally nice, like finally get the rating. It was a gorgeous November day last year, November 9th. And it was just a good feeling. I did cyber school last year to finish up my instrument rating and my private pilot's license. So it was like, that was the moment where it all kind of paid off, and like all the lack of sleep and stuff. So that was awesome. That's just one of my senior pictures. The airplane has to be included. I feel like it's just my baby. That's the day I passed my instrument rating. So that was just over 6 months, 6 months and 10 days after getting my private pilot's license. I did my instrument rating in 4 months. And if you're familiar with aviation, you know that the instrument rating is not the easiest. So this rating was kind of exciting. This put me above my dad in ratings. So I have a higher rating than he does. And this put me level to all the other guys. So I'm the only girl in the family who flies. So that was kind of like, yeah, that's my badass moment. I'm instrument rated now. Like, you know, I'm equal to you guys, which is kind of cool. Once again, a lot of studying and stress went into that. So that was really just cool to achieve. And it was 10 days after my 18th birthday. So that was also really cool. That was just me flying. My friend Abby and I were taking her airplane out to Niagara Falls for the day. We were flying instruments, and after like 2 hours, just hard IMC in the clouds, we call it in the soup in aviation. It was absolutely miserable. We popped out on top of the clouds, and it was so pretty. It was just a view that is like undeniably gorgeous. I love it. This was my first solo jump. This was my landing. Was this? No, I'm sorry. This was my first stand-up landing at Smoketown. So I was able to stand it up, and that was an awesome feeling because my parents were there too. So that was my first solo pole, my 5-second delayed free fall, and yeah, stand-up landing. That is my first off-site landing, skydiving. So we have these big, basically power lines that separate the airport and a cornfield. And that obstacle is why student progression, we don't do it at Smoketown really. But because I'm a pilot and I'm super familiar with the airport, they let me and Dalton and another girl, Kylie, all do it at Smoketown. So this was the call I made. I turned into the wind for my downwind, and I was not going anywhere. I knew I was not going to make it above or over the power lines at about 1,500 feet. So I turned and I went into a cornfield. That was quite the experience, to say the least. Dalton saw me down there, and he ended up coming to join me in the cornfield. At least I had a soft landing. He got his canopy stuck in the corn. So I think that's kind of funny if you ask me, because I was not the one pulling corn stalks out of my canopy while pre-packing. And that was my first 10-second delay free fall, as well as my own pack job. So that was pretty cool. There's just a picture of me in free fall, just kind of minding my own business, having a good old time. That was also my 10-second delay free fall. So everything went great up to that jump leading up to landing in the corn. There's just a picture from Oshkosh in front of another Kawasaki green airplane. I thought that mine was kind of unique until I went out to Oshkosh and saw these other green airplanes. I really liked it. It had really cool carbon fiber. And yeah, Oshkosh is a great time. I miss it. That's my friend Abby and I. She is 2 years older than I am, and she's like the most badass human I know. She's already got her flight instructor certificate at 20. And she's one of my best friends. And the way we became friends was actually our dads are really good friends. So actually, this picture right here, the guy in black right there, that's Ray, that's her dad. And we met last year. They were both like, oh my gosh, my friend Ray has a daughter about your age and she flies. And we were both like, oh no, what is this man going to bring us? It ended up being an awesome friendship. We're actually going up to Salem, Massachusetts for the weekend, next weekend. So that'll be super fun. We're going to fly up there.
Hey, somebody's got a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Slow days. Do you know another young lady named, is it Kayla? Kaila?
I do not. Do you know where she's from? person in the chat say that.
Okay, slow days. Do you know a little bit more info?
Yeah. I'm always down to be a new female pilot though. So then there's Abby and I again, and then with our dads. So we think that they have a bromance. They're kind of like an old married couple in some ways. They definitely have a bromance. And we all flew up to Alton Bay, New Hampshire this past winter and actually landed on a lake. So that was cool. If you're in aviation and you ever have the experience to do that, 10 out of 10 recommend. Our dads were super cool because they always wanted to do it, but they actually let both of us be piloting commands of that flight. So we were the ones that actually got to land, which was really cool. Very, very thankful to have dads as awesome as we do. Wouldn't trade him for the world. There he is again on my first solo. He's the biggest guy that basically one of my biggest inspirations in aviation. He's the one who kind of got me into it. And, for a while it was super, we don't want you to be doing this because it's what your dad loves. And I was like, no, this is seriously like what I love. And definitely dad's little girl. I look up to him. I don't think he realizes what a big role model he is in my life. So he's pretty awesome. So we flew down to Georgia last year. So there we are again. There's another one of my senior pictures. I think that one looks really cool. It's the black and white at the end of the runway with the airplane. There's me flying our Cessna 182 for the first time. And I was like, holy cow, I'm 5'1", and this is a really big airplane. So my flight instructor thought that was picture worthy. And I did a cross country I went to Ocean City, Maryland on that one, just to knock out a commercial requirement. And that was a super cool flight too. We flew at about 300 to 500 feet just over the ocean, like right off the coast. It was absolutely gorgeous. Awesome flight with autopilot on. This was my first time really flying an airplane with autopilot, which is a great thing. I now love autopilot. Wish that my airplane had it. So there's an old one of my sisters and I. That was my grandpa's Waco. He's since sold it, but yep, my dad used to pile two of us in that front seat and take us on Waco rides, and that's where his love for biplanes started. So he's got turquoise? What was that? Yeah, I'm in the turquoise right there. That was my favorite color at the time. It was pretty much a rarity to not see me in turquoise. And then that's my little sister Gracie and my older sister Abby. It's funny because some people used to think we were twins back then. So I don't know, if you see it or not, but
oh yeah,
I think that's kind of funny. There's my grandpa and I in front of his Fairchild. He's another really one of my big role models. I look up to him as a person, as an aviator. He's an awesome guy. He's got the biggest heart I've ever seen. Built that airplane up from scratch that we're standing in front of. It took him about 15 years to build. He started the year I was born and finished it the year I turned 15. So yep, there we are. I'm sorry, he did not know. He started before I was born because that math does not equal up. I was 14 in that picture. I think he started it in 2000 and finished it in 2014.
Wow.
Point is, it was a lot of work. He since had a pretty severe accident and has not really soloed since. So, I still look up to him as a person, as an aviator, and I'm looking forward to the day where I get to take him flying again. I think that we're getting there. As far as him soloing ever again, I don't know that we are going to get there, but absolutely adore him. And he loves watching me learn and fly. And, he'll get on the Unicom when I'm flying from his hangar and he'll talk to me over the radio. So that's always special. And this is the spin jump, I think. This is not the spin jump. This is my other jump that went really well this past weekend. This is my first step exit. So except for that little part where I just kept falling, everything else in that jump went awesome. I was really stable in free fall. Delayed free fall. And then pulled my parachute. Everything went as planned. And yep. So that was the one before I spun out of control. I don't think I added that one to this slideshow. And then this is my stand-up landing from Sunday where landings have finally clicked for me. That was an awesome feeling after that spin. So that's pretty much it as far, that's not the right thing. I'm in Zoom. That's pretty much it as far as I don't know, some aviation pictures go and whatnot.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. Hey, Will Fly, who also was a pilot, he said in a tandem airplane, the instructor would tug on the student's shirt tail to give the instruction signals. Cutting off the tail meant the instructor didn't have to tell you what to do anymore.
Yep. Okay. I knew it was something along those lines, but I didn't want to get my words twisted. So yeah, there you go. Because there wasn't
cool.
That's why they cut it. So yeah, I actually have hanging right here. Like I made a whole frame from my solo day. So and of course I have a background on.
Right. He said the instructor would be in the back and the student in the front as a sternman or a scout.
Yeah, because it was like before headsets were a thing, and I guess they used the shirt tugging to, I don't know. This is my solo frame from the day I soloed. So I have like my shirt. This is my student pilot's license. I have a picture of my dad and I, and then a note that my dad wrote me that morning, and just wrote "Love, Dad" on it, and then a note from my flight instructor as well. So that's a pretty special frame that I
definitely,
wherever I move to, that comes with me.
Eric has a question. Hang on one second. Never trust a skinny chef. Shane first said, you don't need a parachute to skydive. You do need one if you want to do a second time. Just saying.
That's true. That's an accurate statement. I also saw another thing that was like, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving's not for you.
Eric said, question for Lily. Who is her favorite YouTuber that has a live show on Wednesday nights?
I'm gonna guess it's you, Jade.
Yay! Jade and Cupcake Krista. Mark George asked, what is your best flying experience?
My best flying experience. That's a great question. Probably flying up to Alton Bay in New Hampshire this past winter. I went down to York, which is about an hour south of Lancaster, and spent the night with a friend that night. And so I woke up at like 3 a.m. to drive to the airport at like 4 a.m. It was like a 4.5-hour flight up to the ice runway. And it was incredibly chaotic there. There's not a, control tower or anything. It's a huge thing because it's only open like 3 to 5 weeks out of the winter. So everyone's trying to get up there. But landing on the ice and like, I don't know, just like you get the airplane so slow and you draw back the power and you wait for the stall horn to come on and then your wheels just click on. Oh, it's the best feeling ever. It was like, that has to be up there in one of my amazing experiences of flying.
All right. Slow Days, back to that girl asking if you knew her. He said with social media and the age comparison, figured they might know each other. He said he met Kayla at an air show and was very impressed by her achievements and her ambition also.
I don't at least know her personally. Maybe she follows me and I follow her. I follow a lot of people on Instagram, if I'm being honest. So sometimes I just tap through and double click, not really even realizing what I'm liking. So it's just a way to decompress from society. So I don't, but I'm sure she's an awesome, I feel like if you're young and you're a female and you're in aviation, you're pretty awesome. So
that's right. And Tony is asking if you're jumping with an AAD.
Yes. Yep. I don't think you'll ever catch me jumping without an AAD.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. So an AAD is an automatic. Oh shoot. What's the other A? Basically, if you hit a certain altitude, it goes for you. Your reserve will go for you. Oh. And so that's the whole thing about like, I'm glad I did not hit 2,500 on Sunday because my AAD would have gone. And like I said, yes, we're jumping out of airplanes, but we do it as safe as possible. And that's another one of those buffers. So, we have RSLs and reserves and AADs and, all these different things that help make it as safe a sport as possible.
Okay. Krista, you got anything else?
Well, they're all just so funny. Shane says one day he's going to be a pilot. And he hopes to be, I have no idea what he's trying to say. It's too small for me to read. Let me think of the question. Sorry. I'm blind. So your friend needs to come onto the show. One, because Jade needs more female pilots here, and she's your inspiration. I'm sure you're hers, so we would love to meet her.
Oh, and Tony says automatic active device.
There you go.
AAD. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, automatic. Yeah, yep. Brain fart.
And
It's 9 o'clock here, so I'm like, brain is gone.
okay, we'll shut this down shortly. And Mark McElroy, the one I was telling you about, that is a welder that also knows that international pilot. He said that Michelle, the gal I was telling you about, her daughter is becoming a commercial pilot as well. And I think she might be around your age, maybe a year or two older. So that would be a good family to keep in contact with too. Mark George is asking from Periswag, ever thought of hang gliding?
Yes. And then I was like, that's kind of scary, and I don't really want to do that. So there's an overlook, probably about, I don't know, an hour away from my house, and they hang glide off of it. And it's funny, that's actually where my dad proposed to my mom. I don't know, random fact. But I remember going there growing up, just because we would spend a lot of time in the area because we have family friends up there. And they would hang glide, and I was like, that looks too scary for me. So I don't know, maybe I'd try it, but I don't know that I'd like get into it.
All right. So we've went over on our time. I apologize, Lily.
No worries.
But it was great hearing everything about you. Again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time away from college studies and everything like that to tell us your story of how you got into the air. Very interesting. And if you have the social media, please let us know what it is so a bunch of us can start following you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm at pilot.lily on TikTok and Instagram. So find me.
All right. And again, you can go to my YouTube page by paramotorgirl.com or Flying Flamingo Jade. I'm on TikTok at Flying Flamingo 12 and Instagram also. I think something Flying Flamingo. So check those out. I do the videos for my special guests each week that Krista and I have. And Krista, you have anything?
I'm only on here. I'm really not on any social media. Yeah.
She goes to work and chills at night otherwise.
I'm on a computer all day, and it's the last thing I want to do. So
Right.
She's a fun one to have at fly-in, so that's definitely for sure. So again, I would like to thank you and thank everyone for joining in. And I'm going to have Eric post the after show. If you guys want to ask any questions, you can do so. And I'm just going to give my computer 1 second because my other computer shut down. And we are going to shut down the live broadcast. And if anybody wants to join in, come ask Lily some questions quick before she's got to go to bed before getting up early because she says she's sleeping through classes. So everyone have a good night and fly safe. All right. I think we should be done on live stream.
Awesome.
Good job.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. That was super fun.
Yeah. Are you able to stay on for a few minutes?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll see if anybody comes in here. I think we've got it kind of locked down, so they have to be let in. Because one of the other shows that we were in, somebody broke into it and had some vulgar music
again?
and scream. No, just that time. And now Shane and I just try to make sure we lock it down where they have to ask permission to get into our Zoom meeting.
Right.
Eric put the code out a couple times, it looks like.
Yeah, he did. Oh. Eric's on.
I guess
Are you
nobody-
interested in balloons? Air balloons at all?
I'm interested in jumping out of them.
Gee,
Oh,
I find
Is
it
there another
interesting
person
that you.
here? Wait, I can't see them.
Oh, Eric's here now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in jumping out of hot air balloons. I don't know about staying in it, but the idea of getting out of it at 10,000 feet sounds great.
yeah.
You
Never
are
heard
an
anyone say that.
adrenaline junkie. Hey, we could take
Hey.
you up in a tandem and you could jump off of a paramotor.
So there's a guy with a breezy at our airport, and we're trying. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is. And we're trying to get him to let us jump out of it. It's similar to an ultralight. And we want him to let at least one of us jump out of it.
So the next couple coming in right now is Angela and Tony that were asking lots of good questions. So they're on their phone. Show yourself, Angela and Tony.
Hi guys.
Hi. Show your beautiful faces. And this is Deweese from Mississippi and Randy. She's connecting yet. Hi, Deweese.
Did you delete the?
Did I delete what? Is that Will Fly singing music?
That's not me.
It's Deweese. Deweese's radio is on.
Deweese, are you going to be a millionaire? I think she's froze. Hello, Will Fly.
Hey, I'm having to use the phone today.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
well, yeah, so what are you doing next Tuesday night?
Next Tuesday night. Why? Does it involve going to Florida or Wisconsin?
Well, kind of through Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, I've
Helping
learned
me
to,
out-
I've learned to ask. I've learned
Helping
to
me out
find out
with a Tuesday
what
night
it
show.
is before I tell you what I'm doing next
Notice
Tuesday.
he's talking over you.
Yeah, I did. I need help on a Tuesday
Sensible,
night
Jade.
show.
So Lily, Will Fly was also a pilot. Do you still
I
have
am
your?
a pilot.
You still are a pilot?
A GA pilot, that means he's from Georgia.
Yeah, that means you like stick to the smaller stuff.
I'm a double I.
Oh,
But
awesome.
I was curious. That's why I was asking if you were getting the commercial so you could become a flight instructor too to build
Yeah.
hours for the
Yeah,
airlines.
Right now I'm planning on building my hours flying jumpers and maybe doing an aerial survey company. Just because we have our own airplane, it's pretty easy for me to build hours. I do a lot across countries. As I mentioned, I'm like going to Salem next weekend.
Yeah.
So that's how I build the majority of my hours. However, I know that nowadays the airlines like to see dual time given. So
Right.
that's also why I'm gonna get it. But as far as like working for a flight school, I don't know. Also, the other thing is like, I mean, like I'm 18 and 5'1" and 3/4 and a pretty small person. And I feel like if an older person showed up for a flight lesson and looked at me, they'd laugh and be like, "Oh, you're my flight instructor." So I don't know. I feel like it might be a respect thing if people not taking it seriously, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know about that because my first flight instructor, and I was actually her first student. She it was a she, and she was about that same height. And I respected the heck out of her, and I do
Yeah.
today too. So yeah, I wouldn't let that hold you back. But I mean, it like you said, it just depends on what your goal is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it is
And
a
it
nice thing to have.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it looks like some of my younger cousins are showing interest in flying now. So it looks like we might get a couple more pilots out of the family. So it'd be really nice to have an instructor in the family,
Yeah.
if that's the route that some of them decide to go. Also, like I enjoy teaching, I enjoy learning, and that's the other aspect of why I might get my, at least CFI just my initial to have it.
I
Yeah,
have
if
a
you
question.
get, yeah, when I have a minute, Eric, I'll let you in.
Okay, thanks. I'll wait. No,
Now,
so I didn't know that you were a boat captain. Also, Will.
me?
Yeah.
I'm not a boat captain.
Well, you said you're an II. So do you walk around going II captain?
I captain. Yeah, that's an instrument instructor, a flight instructor.
Oh. See, you need
I
to
got it.
explain this shit to us because we don't we're paramotor pilots. That's all we are.
You are pilots. Don't discriminate. You're a pilot. But hey,
All pilots are equal. Hey.
yeah, I love the paint, the color scheme on your 150. That is beautiful.
Thank you. My dad, I remember I was away for a week, the week he was painting it, and he texted me two colors. He's like, do you want yellow or green? And I was like, they're both ugly, but green. Turns out it grew on me, and I absolutely adore the Kawasaki green. I have not, actually, I saw one other green one, Cessna 150, who pretty much copied our scheme. But yeah, I'm obsessed with it. She's my baby. The day they sell it, like, I'm going to be so sad.
You know, if you can land a 150, you can land just about anything. You know?
Share your screen on your computer again. That was pretty cool picture of your plane in the sky.
So that was from when my flight instructor Jeff and I went out to, is it broadcasting? Nope, no. That's me. That is from when my flight instructor Jeff and I went out to Rochester. We had to take basically our skydiving company this year leased an airplane, and we had to go out to Rochester, New York. I love it because like when things are, you know, adequately charged, everything matches really nicely. So that's Carol from the outside. If you zoom in, you can see a terrified 18-year-old pilot because her flight instructor is getting really close to her and she's a little nervous in formation flight.
Was he trying to do a wingtip touch?
What was that?
Was he trying to do a wingtip touch?
Yeah. I was like, I kept veering off to the right, and he texted me. He's like, "Stop going away." I was like, "You're too close."
It's kind of like Eric trying to do a tip touch with me. Anyway, we've got Denise from Mississippi in here.
Yes, well, the 150 is instrument rated.
Are we muted?
No, Angela and Tony, you are not muted. Hi. They're from Las Vegas, and they're the ones that were asking a lot of the questions. And Tony, are you a skydiver?
Oh, you're a skydiver. What's up?
Skydiving over 15 years.
That's awesome.
Hey, it's back in the day. That's why I couldn't believe $80 for sky. That's what it costs to get to altitude now.
Yeah.
What did it used to cost for you?
$20.
Oh, wow.
Well, so license, like once you have your license, you go down to 20. But right now, because I'm like, so my jumps right now at the one place are costing me 40, because it's like 20 for your lift ticket and then 20 for your gear rental, and then you pay the instructor 20, and then you pay for their lift ticket up too.
That's if you were still on student gear.
Yeah. So because like Jeff, who's my flight instructor and my skydiving coach, he's like, listen, I know you're kind of on a budget because you're a college student, so I'm not like I can afford my own ticket, my own lift ticket, and I'm not going to make you charge me. Like, I'm not going to charge you. So we have a pretty good deal going where like he pays, then I pay him back. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
What is Kelby eating?
Fruit. Good job.
What the hell? I'm disappointed.
What kind of skydiving do you want to get into? Are you going to do RW, like head down, free fly? What are you going to want to get into for skydiving?
I like the idea of angle and track. Like, I don't know. Angle's cool. I'm probably going to be belly and back for a while. We'll see. Wingsuiting is appealing. We have two wingsuiters at my drop zone. And I respect them. I respect the living hell out of them. So I could see myself getting into wingsuiting.
Cool.
I don't know. Head down. That seems scary. That seems scary to me, and it's going to be a long time before I get there, considering I struggle with belly right now. So,
is that what you did?
No, I did RW. Get good four guys, and you do some awesome points, and that's great.
Yeah, I'm really attracted to like the social aspect of like formation jumps and like that kind of stuff. So like, I'm excited to get my license. I love the atmosphere of the drop zone. You know, I rock climb too, so I like they're very similar dynamics to the rock gym and the drop zone. So I love it.
Cool. So you're gonna get your license? We got 11 jumps. You're working on getting your A license.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my A. I'm probably gonna get my B and C too. I don't really have the D isn't just, I don't know, it's not necessary. I don't see myself needing it, so why would I go?
Not unless you're gonna do demos and fly, where you're gonna jump into like a stadium or something like that.
Right. Which like our drop zone does do a lot of demos. So like, I mean, it would be useful to have, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. I'm not anywhere as far as skydiving goes.
So when you do buy your own, are you gonna eventually buy your own gear?
Yeah, I'm gonna buy my own gear. So I'm getting. What was that?
I'm just kind of figuring out what kind of gear that's out there now. What's popular, like the PD design. What kind of canopy? What kind of rig? Javelin. What kind?
So I'm jumping at Javelin right now. Javelin's just. I'm sorry, it's a Javelin rig. I cannot speak. The container is Javelin, and I think the reserve the canopy is Nav.
So what?
I think it's, I don't know. They write in my logbook Nav 260. My friend Dalton jumps a Mirage that he really likes.
Right on.
So I might try and buy that off of him in the future, but we'll see.
Yeah, PD's a big, huge thing, and stilettos. Those are popular.
Yeah.
When did you start skydiving?
1990.
Oh shit, your
Wow.
shit's got like holes in it from moss and stuff, don't it?
Yes, long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away.
You guys can go on YouTube and see them.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, what are you holding out for? Drop us a link.
I will.
Of course you will. Best years of my life with skydiving. That's all you do. And she's so lucky that she lives near a drop zone. Oh man, that's
Yeah. And it's great because like the other drop zone that I'm now jumped. So like my main drop zone, Skydive Lancaster, we're done for the season. George, who's the owner, is like, oh, if you guys want, you can pull out the airplane and like, jump with Jeff flying and like, pretty much everyone is coaches at our drop zone. So I can jump with all of them.
season because it's too cold.
What was that?
It's done for the season because it's too cold.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it gets cold here fast, man. So then Maytown, which is the other drop zone, is like a 10-minute flight, a 30-minute drive. So, and they jump all year round.
Oh, come on. There's no such thing as cold.
No, actually, I don't. I don't do well in the cold.
I mean, Jade and I, we fly. I think the coldest that we flew was 9 degrees.
9 degrees.
Wow. Yeah, I don't do well in the cold.
Well, neither do we, but I'm just saying we flew at 9 degrees.
What wind tunnel did you fly in?
I'm going to iFly next week. They have a Philadelphia location, so I'm like a half hour from it.
Did it in Orlando.
Yeah. So it's really nice. One of the girls who jumped at my drop zone actually is an instructor at iFly, so it was really easy. I just texted her and I was like, "Hey, Josie, I need help." Okay, good help.
Cool, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah.
You will. Don't even look at me.
I got a question about the people that jump and then they do the formations. How do they control their bodies so they're not flying into each other? And I know that you can do that in one of those wind tunnel things and practice, but I think I would see myself in there and I would be bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, that's Tony. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
The best explanation of how to fly your body is, remember when you stick your hand out of a car and you're doing
Yep.
like 60 miles an hour, you can take your hand and just up and down. Your whole body is like that. You use the wind to you automatically use the wind to control your body. Your legs are crucial rudders as your arms. You know, it's not, once you reach for something is the opposite, because once you reach for something, you're going to backslide. And so when you want to keep your arms in, you fly forward, use your legs. I mean, it took me a long time to figure out how to fly good, or decent anyways.
Because I think that's so cool that they do those designs and stuff like that. And I can't imagine how they're not kicking themselves or flying into each other and stuff like that. I was too afraid to ask Jen that night on there. So and are those ones that are obviously they're up a lot higher than 6,000 feet, I would imagine, correct?
Yeah.
Usually about 12.5. I was 12.5, 14.5 at good boogies. Like, I don't know, she's too young, but like at Quincy, they'd have planes that you'd go up there and get up to 14.5 instantly and you'd get out. So, but if
I
you stay up
know
there,
there's a twin otter like an hour and a half away from me, and I'm like, I can't wait to get myself in that.
Oh. You know
Now,
who
what
Mike,
is that?
What was that?
You know who Mike Mullins is? I don't know if he's still around, but Mullins had a King Air, and he was always going to these drop zones, and it was the best. He was the best pilot. His kid Charlie Mullins probably is you might know Charlie Mullins.
I don't know the name.
Oh, but he would bring his King Air to all these drop zones, these boogies, and he would get us up there, and it was just the greatest.
Yeah, my instructor Jeff and his family, they go down to Z Hills every year. Like actually, most of our drop zone goes down to Z Hills, Florida, every year, and jumps. I think they have a boogie over the winter.
Great drop zone.
Yeah, it is a big drop zone. What's the other one? Skydive Chicago. I'd love to find myself there.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, but the big one near me, like the biggest one near me, is Skydive Cross Keys. I don't know.
I think Skydive Chicago is Nelson, owns that. Big skydive. I mean, that was
massive. Yeah, massive drop zone.
Is that in Milwaukee?
Is that what?
Is that in Milwaukee?
Just a little bit south. About 6 hours for you.
Yeah, it's on the border.
No, that's a great drop zone.
Oh, cool.
They got everything. They got a swoop pond there.
Don't forget, Missy, you've got school in the morning.
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking that I should probably get off because I do have class in the morning. I do still have some homework to finish. So,
all right.
Lily, you were great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
It's really nice to meet everybody.
Practice those Shondells and lazy eights.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Lazy is gonna be the death of me, man. All right.
Keep in touch, Lily.
Yes.
And we'll have you on another time, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Have a good night.
Explain what lazy eights are.
Lazy eights it's basically the commercial part. To get your commercial license, you basically have mastery of the airplane. As far as it's more about finesse than anything. And so a lazy eight is basically, I can't show you with my finger. I mean, it's 3 dimensions, but you're going up on part of the eight, and then in the middle you're coming down, and then you go back up, and then in the middle you're coming back down. But you have to do it within a certain, I can't remember what it is, 250 feet or 200 feet. You have to, there's a tolerance. And by the time you get to each part of the eight, you have to meet that tolerance to pass that part.
And that's for becoming a commercial pilot?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds more like a game than anything, but really it's more of a difficult maneuver. I mean, it's a demonstration that you have basically mastered the airplane or the maneuver. I don't know. And also,
Are you a commercial pilot?
Yeah, you have to be a commercial pilot to be a flight instructor.
And that's what you are?
I am.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah. Retired.
Tired.
I thought you were
What?
a preacher.
A preacher?
I did.
You're a preacher?
Well, I mean, that's because my name's Billy Graham, but I'm not a preacher.
So how long
I
have you
did
been
hear him
flying?
swear.
So how
I
long
didn't
have you been
use
flying?
where thoughts, got hooked up with this group.
This group. Yeah, this group.
Krista, you heard him swear too, didn't you? Oh, come on.
Yeah, never heard me swear.
I didn't hear. That's what I'm saying. I didn't. Sorry. Say it again.
She didn't hear. So hey.
Oh. Well, cool. Thanks for joining in, everybody.
That was
You got
fun.
your own plane? You have your own plane?
No. And that was, I was looking to get back in. I would never own an airplane. They're just too much of a headache. They always find something wrong every time it goes in for an annual or whatever. I just wanted to get back into some form of aviation, and that's where and how I found paramotoring.
Well, that's cool.
How did
Yeah.
you? How
What?
did you find paramotoring?
You mean like, well,
Initially.
initially I was just looking on YouTube and I saw they got those little things down the side, the little,
Suggestions?
yeah, catches or clickbaits. And I saw Tucker's video standing in front of a McDonald's sign. And I'm like, that is not real. But I clicked on it and yeah, sure enough. Like so many.
What was it?
I know. I found Dell, unfortunately.
Oh, Dell and what's the other one? Captain Kurt.
Yep. Yep.
And
So-
then they Tucker.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the videos? Have you seen Judson and Tucker with the
SkyTap?
what is it? The air concept? Apparently that was Andrew Fuller's.
Yeah. He was ripping on the SkyTap Angel, and he put out another video, the
Yeah, and
apology for it and stuff.
Eric said that Judson put out another one. Must have.
Yeah, he was apologizing because SkyTap. Actually, SkyTap off freedom laptop.
I can't hear you, man.
Say that again.
The SkyTap Angel went off breed of the flat top, and Andrew Fuller he worked with Dell and he made his own Paramotor, yeah, which became the SkyTap. And Judson made a mockery of the SkyTap, saying how clumsy it was and everything. That's why he made this other video to apologize, because so many people were giving him crap about it.
Now, Andrew Fuller isn't he the SIV guy?
Yes, the one in Florida that does the
Yeah.
SIV. Yeah.
Okay.
And Sean Simons is the one that has the SkyTap Angel, and I've been following him. And
Yep.
my brother bought the SkyTap Angel because I think it's a great design, and they made a lot better additions to the flat top, and you don't have to deal with Dell.
So there's that.
Yeah, there's that for sure. I feel bad for his nephew, because Trevor, his nephew, he's a pretty cool kid, and it just sucks that he got kind of wrapped into the Dell stuff. But it just Dell gave really a bad taste to paramotors, because when we first started this and stuff, he was always telling you that if you don't fly my equipment, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna die, and kind of tries to scare you to go with him, because
Intimidation.
intimidation, exactly. That if you don't fly my stuff, you're gonna die. And when you get into this, you don't want to die, so I gotta have the best of the best. And when you do the research, you see how bad Dell really was. I mean, he had a computer company, and I don't know if you guys know his background, but dude's a shady character, just like that Captain Kirk guy is. All he wants to do is just get people in the air. He doesn't teach you to kite or nothing. Just get you in there and power, go, go, go.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he hasn't killed anybody, but still, that's not the way to do it.
It's not safe.
Two ways to have the tallest building in town.
Say that
One
again?
there's two ways to have the tallest building in town. One is to tear all the other buildings down. Then you got the tallest, but then you're no destroyer. But the other way to get the tallest building is to work on your own building, you know. And so
Well, that's true. And that's what Dell does. He
yeah,
tries.
yeah, the same feeling about that.
Yeah. He's not really good for the community for the paramotoring because he's just
Negative.
he is, and he just rips on everybody's equipment. That's like that's not cool.
Have you guys ever watched Dell?
Oh,
When at first I did because I didn't know any better.
right. Yeah, he's a shady character. I like his nephew. His nephew's cool. He's pretty decent. But they train down in Texas, Christie or whatever, and they just train on the beach where you have constant winds, and you go down there, and his class is expensive. It was like $4,500. But we'll set you up, and we'll do all this. We'll feed you and this and that. It's like I don't care about you feeding me. Just train me. But the thing is once you leave all that constant wind, you go to the inlands and there's no wind. You have no idea. And I've seen so many videos of people that go get trained by him and then go back to their hometowns. And they're just floundering around. That's not good.
What's wrong with my wing?
Exactly. It worked there.
Dave Ruff had one of his students, and the guy had never kited after
Who?
the kid. Dave Ruff.
Dave Rupp, one of Dell's?
He had one of his ex-students came to him and said, I need a refresher. I don't feel like I don't feel confident. And then in this interview that he had online, the kid had never even kited, like more than 2-3 hours. That was it, Dell.
Wow.
So that's freaky when you.
Yeah, I did a lot of research. I found some good people. You find some shady characters too.
If somebody asked me what the step would be in their paramotor journey, I would say to hook up with a good local group first before they did it. And you could learn so much just a couple hours with those guys, just reading through their chat or whatever chat transcript from Facebook. I didn't do that initially. Wish I did.
Didn't you try self-training first?
No.
I
went with an instructor who wasn't a very good instructor. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So what I learned ended up being from my local group of guys.
Didn't Hale O'Brien, didn't he try self-training first and then got training? I thought one of you guys did. Did I follow?
JR Paramotor.
JR Paramotor, maybe he's the one that did it.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian does say hello. I flew with him tonight. He can't be. Yeah, he can't be on the show because he doesn't. It's not good signal out there.
Brian, he's cool.
He is a guy.
I love his dog.
Oh yeah, you know what he was gonna I don't know, it was a 6 or 7 hour drive just to pick up his dog and bring him back. Yeah, for just so he could have him for 2 days, and he changed his mind. I'm glad he did. Right. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Right.
Louise, what's your little dog's name?
Louise.
He fell asleep. He fell asleep.
No, I was muted. It's
Eugene.
Oh my God, that's cute.
Eugene.
Little dog.
And he looks like he's wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
When I first met him, when he walked up to me, I'm like, oh my God, they've got a shirt on this dog. It was so hot out.
This is hair. This is the way he looks like a Yorkie, but a fat Yorkie.
Did you guys get rid of your heart?
Yeah, a dorky.
Did I see that correctly on your YouTube channel?
No, we still have him. I'm trying to push it because But then after we got him, he's like at a stop sign when we were in Red Wing. He goes, so what if we sell the Harleys and get BMWs with the lunch boxes? Because I always call them the lunch boxes with those hard cases on the sides.
Yeah.
He goes, I think we'd both like how they make us sit up better. And I said, let's just play with these toys first before we jump to anything else. It's like, we don't have enough time in the day for anything and everything. And he just wants to buy more toys. And it's like, stop.
Boys and the toys. Come on.
Oh, kidding.
But who was riding two up? Was that Eric? And yeah, obviously I saw that. I was like, how can those ride two up on that? Those things are only like what, 125s?
125s. And so when we were in Minnesota, we crossed over into Wisconsin and had lunch. And he was going to try to get us up to Minneapolis to a place called Cycle World. And I'm like, no. He goes, yeah, I just looked at it. We'd have to go on the interstate. I'm like, no. And it would have been another 45 minutes. And it was like kind of on and off rain showers. And I'm like, no. So then she rode back with me and I got going downhill and I got it up to 66 miles an hour with her on the back. So, but uphill, it's 45, 50 without a passenger. But they're fun in town here. So
what did you do? Just rent them or what?
No, we bought them. We ordered them like this spring. And because 2021s never came to the country. And so we ordered 22s and they said this early September one was coming in. And then the other one came, I think mine was the last one to come in. And then Eric was pissed that night because Friday, right after work, hurry up, jump in the truck and the camper and head to Red Wing, 4.5 hours away. And he's trying to get a hold of this guy, the sales guy, which wasn't our original. And they won't tell him what the final price is. We didn't want any add-ons or anything. And they're like, well, we'll tell you, what the final is once, you decide if you're going to add anything on. We don't want anything else. So of course the guy texts Eric like right at closing at 6 p.m. and it was off. And Eric sent him the quote from the original sales guy, which was decent. And it was like $450 off. So Eric's like, yeah. And now he's not going to answer. So Eric tried texting him and said, call me. I would like to discuss this before I walk into the shop on Saturday morning. And the finance girl was kind of snotty to him too. And he's trying to be nice. And finally towards the end, she's like, well, I've got somebody in my office for an appointment. And he's like, fine, just go do what you got to do with your customer there. And he hangs up. He goes, yeah, because they're buying 1 gram and we're buying 2. You're not going to help us. But anyway, we didn't realize, I think what was the difference was, they were trying to do 2 installation charges. And the guy said, no, it was supposed to be only 1. And then they have 7.7% sales tax, I think 7.5 or 7.7% sales tax. And we've got 5.5. So it was a little bit more. So.
Do you have any pictures?
Yeah, I did a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Who watches YouTube anymore?
Well, it was kind of, and it was,
all I watch is
I had my GoPro session on my helmet, Will, and we went down.
When is it? I mean, when did you do the video?
I did it last night.
Oh, that's why I haven't seen it.
But I had this cool video of this guy living on a boat on the Mississippi, and I freaking deleted it.
Oh,
him talking. He must have been like a truck driver. But he talked about just buying this one that he was on for $2,500. He's like, yeah, you want it? And the people over there, and they look like trailer houses on the water. But this section that we went to, it doesn't freeze over because there's a nuclear power plant like upstream a little ways. So it doesn't freeze. So these people live right on the houseboats, right in Minnesota. And it was pretty cool, but
Wow.
yeah, we could have had like an old 1970 party boat for $2,500. So
That would have been cool.
I know. And then he kept talking and he was talking about, because I asked him, because one year I remember my dad wanted to take our little 150 horse Evinrude little fishing boat down the Mississippi. And I had asked, hey, how is it like if you get behind a barge? He goes, you get to know the barge people. And once they know that you're there all night, he goes, you just stay up as close as possible to them. And he goes, they'll turn their engines down or whatever. So you can just glide right along, and it saves the follower gas because it must keep them in that wake or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So he said the farthest he made it was to the Ohio River, but he said 2 or 3 times he almost lost his life. He said 2 of them were in the locks and dams. One of the locks was filling, and then it just completely emptied out or something. I don't know. I wasn't really understanding, but pretty interesting. And I deleted the freaking video because he even could hear it echoing from my helmet to Eric's helmet because I kept my helmet on. So it was, I was looking at him the entire time he was talking.
Oh, you're a YouTube. You don't ever delete video until it's necessary.
Well, I'm struggling with trying to figure out I'm struggling with this MacBook. Will knows that. And it's like, there's too many commands, and it's like trying to figure out how to download things from that onto an external drive and then get it back to, I'll probably find it on the external drive probably next year.
All high-tech stuff.
So tonight I just went live on, Eric wanted to go for dinner, and we tried 2 little bar restaurants up out of town a little ways, and we took the scooters and of course those places were closed because they were both new owners and they were still cleaning. So we came back into town, and I did a YouTube live, and the first time I did it, I had it on the mount, and it's a magnet mount, and we can use it on our trikes now too. And it's what I was wanting to design myself, and somebody actually invented it now. So it's a magnet that goes on to I think he put it on the top of the tank, gas tank area, and then it's on a kind of like a ball pivot.
Yeah.
And you clamp down on the phone, and then it's got like a tether. So I wrapped it around my brake line, and then I still have a tether to my phone. So I put my phone tether to that tether. So in case my phone goes flying off, at least it doesn't go too far. So the first time I was too busy trying to make sure my phone wasn't going to fly off, and it was just me with the helmet and just driving, doing 55. But then when we came back, I took it off the gas tank and was showing it around. So I don't even know who was all on there yet. I didn't check yet.
That's cool.
Yeah. I like that bike because it's lighter and it's my size, and
it's a bar hopper.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. It's like we go to this Wisconsin Dells, I'm sure you two have heard of.
Oh yeah.
And so we don't take the kids to Wisconsin Dells because that's very costly. We'll go on camp, and then we take the little Honda Ruckuses that we had, and then we go bar hopping or restaurant hopping or just sightseeing, and it's like you can get around that town so much easier because it's so touristy.
Yeah.
And it's just fun you can park a lot easier than a car or even the big Harleys. So
yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, those are cool. I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, we should get some. Like, yeah, just in this town.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'd die in your town, I think, with those. Unless you could ride them on the sidewalk.
Sidewalk
Tony and
is-
Angela. Oh, hold on. Let me turn this shit down. Is the restaurant on Mount Charleston still open up there?
No, that burnt down.
Only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, burnt down the lodge. Mount Charleston Lodge burnt down. They're gonna rebuild it, but yeah, there was a big fire up there.
Holy crap.
From the restaurant.
Yeah, it was our hangout during the hot summer. You go up there, it's nice and cool. You
Dude,
go up
I
there,
used to love going up there.
it's great. Oh, it's beautiful.
And at
So
Christmas time,
nice
you
up
could go
there.
up
You
there
can
in a little snow.
just walk wherever, and it's so nice up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful up there. Yeah, it burnt down though.
For you guys that don't know, the desert's on the bottom, so you could be in 114 degrees and drive up to the top of where he's talking about the restaurant, and you're in like the 60s.
No, that's not even close. Not 60s.
Okay,
You'd be lucky in
70s.
the 70s. Yeah.
Mountains is that?
It's I think the elevation is like 10,500, 11,000 feet. Mount Charleston.
I was gonna say it's like 10 something.
Yeah, it's like 10,800 or something like that at the peak.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. But yeah, when it's hot down here, you go up there and it's cool.
That's nice.
I want to go to Vegas and go to the bar that is a block of ice. My hair.
Oh yeah, they have that. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, that's popular too. Where you got to they give you a little parka. You go in there.
Not like
I'd be like, I don't need that.
I know.
Yeah, you two would be in shorts.
Right.
isn't it called like -5 bar or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I think so, yeah.
It's something like that.
The funny thing is, Jade, when you live here, you don't do the strip. Only when your friends come do you actually go and do the fun stuff.
I believe it. It's just like any touristy town, I bet.
Oh yeah, I stay away from the strip. We all stay away from the strip when you live here.
But
Yeah.
Saturday, I get to see the bare naked ladies for free on Fremont Street. Woohoo!
Sweet. I love Fremont Street.
Me too.
Oh, it is.
That's my favorite.
It's
the
the
light
perfect
show.
people.
Yeah.
Well, see, I had a hard time. I got married to my son's dad out there at Flamingo, and it was 110 that day, and we said
Melted?
it, huh?
You melted.
Yeah.
110.
Yeah, it was 110. We had it at, oh no, it was at the Tropicana. That's what it was. Because then, of course, I go outside, to the waterfall, and the Tropicana girls were out there. So my dad's drooling, the soon-to-be husband was drooling, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Supposed to be looking at me,
This is my day.
right? And then we said we were going to go out for 5 years because we had about 30 of my friends and family go out there, and he had his mom and aunt go. And then he cheated on me with a coworker of mine, and we didn't make it to the 5 year. And then everybody's like, let's just go back out there. I'm like, I just can't do it. I hate that place.
Oh, it's tainted.
Right.
Come out here, honey, and I'll change that.
They don't call it Sin City for nothing.
Right. So
It's a great place to live. I like it, but it's not a very friendly PPG area. I've looked up people. There's not very many people that fly out here because the weather sucks. Me and my brother we go to St. George, Utah. That's where we're getting trained right now.
St. George is pretty awesome as well.
Oh, it's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
And it's not even an hour away. It's just gorgeous up there. It is. Now, granted, I mean, it's totally Mormons, and they're everywhere out there. Matter of fact, there's only one liquor store. Me and my brother were out there, like, we go to the grocery store, like, where's the beer? Where's that? And then we asked somebody, like, oh no, there's only one liquor store that they sell booze, and that was where we had to go. And I'm hauling our trailer just to go get alcohol, and it was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, but you get 3 wives while you're out there.
What'd you
What,
say?
Louise?
You can get 2 or 3 wives while you're out there.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can handle one. I don't even buy
No.
if that even they want one wife, trust me, you're
One wife's enough.
no. But yeah, it's trippy out here. But yeah, the Mormons are just crazy out here. Like she was talking about the Amish. Well, Jade knows about the Amish. I remember working, Black River Falls, and the Amish were they're like that. They are horse and buggy and all that. I mean, it's crazy.
Jade, have you been to Princeton, Wisconsin?
No, but my parents have some friends there, and that's where my dad actually broke his neck. He fell off of a platform, not a hunting stand, but a platform, because they lived right near some zoo place where they had giraffes in Wisconsin and stuff like that.
What the fuck is
And
a giraffe doing in Wisconsin?
right, I know. It was kind of like a zoo refugee type place.
Huh.
And my dad went up on this thing, and anyway, he was up about 10, 15 feet up, and the boards broke, and he ended up falling off backwards and
my
ended up breaking it. And they walked him out, and then they drove him. His friends drove him to the hospital, and then they ended up having an ambulance ride. They were going to take him in Appleton, and my mom's like, well, you don't understand, that's 2 hours from where we live. So then they brought him up to Wausau, and he had surgery through here and plates put in his neck. So, but yeah, that's how I know Princeton. Sorry.
Holy shit.
I only say that because it's an Amish community. There is Amish there that's
Really?
where.
Yeah. See, we got in the northwest corner of Marathon County where like Wausau is. That is Mennonite. They call it Amish, but Mennonites, because when I was younger, I worked at Menards as a cashier, and Saturday mornings they would all load into the van, looking like the Amish, with the suspenders and the beards, but loads of cash, but they would all come in, piled in those vans, and then they would buy all their lumber for the week or whatever at Menards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't let Linda hear you say that Menards. She
Yeah.
probably doesn't know what Menards is.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. It's more of it's based out of Claire.
Midwest. What? She's from Michigan. There's Menards. No, maybe not. I don't think there's Menards in Michigan, is there? I think it's a Wisconsin thing.
Yeah, it's Eau Claire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. Oh yeah. Sounds like
and the son drives
going.
NASCAR.
Yeah.
So
you guys follow NASCAR?
My dad, I grew up watching it and going to a bunch of races and stuff.
Yeah, it's totally taken a turn for the worse. I don't watch it. No, I'm anti NASCAR now.
I grew up with a guy that became a pit crew for Ryan Newman when he was number 12, and that 12 was my favorite number. So of course I was like, yep, I like Ryan Newman even more. And then his dad one day said, hey, do you want some of Ryan Newman's nuts? And I'm like, what? My mom and dad are like, what? So he comes back with the nuts from his lug nuts from his stock car. I'm like, oh.
That's
so I yelled out, I got Ryan Newman's nuts. And my dad is like, oh my God.
They're probably rusty.
So, and then when my son was born, was the weekend that we, when not Richard Petty, I saw Richard Petty go upside down at Daytona, when Earnhardt crashed, died. Yeah. That's around the time he was born.
I stood in that spot when I went and visited.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're coming for the Las Vegas race then. It's only like
Eric
2 minutes away.
Eric does Baja. We got the Baja 300 out here. It's huge out here.
The speedway.
I've been to the inaugural Vegas race.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, with my parents.
Does Eric have any like desire to race anymore, or is he done with that?
Oh, a couple of years ago when we first met, he took me to the track, the local Crandon track where he did most of his home races at. Yeah. And he was like, he smelled the fuel and stuff, and he's like, oh, I'm missing it, but he's like, he thought about it, and he's like, all the hard work that he put into it, he's like, it's just too hard. And then with trying to run a business and stuff. And
back in the day, I used to race mini sprints in Chilton with big racetracks back in the day. Yeah, I love racing. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's expensive. I mean, it's a expensive, just like this sport. I mean, it's expensive. But, you know, you pick and choose because you can't do everything.
Well, that's exactly what Lily said. Yeah, that's
why
you
she
know.
doesn't want to do paramotor because like, I got enough money. I'm flying. I'm
Skydiving. Yep.
Paramotoring. The thing is, I wanted to ask her is, do they paramotor at her drop zone? Do they have that? Do they allow that? I mean,
it sounded, her boss. Yeah. So she's been kind of introduced to it and everything. So
right. She sees it now that she's been on the show. She's like, oh, that paramotoring might be something I might want to get into.
That's why we told her we'll talk you into it before the hour's up.
Right.
Probably just need to do a tandem.
Right. That's why, Jay, that's why you need that tandem so you can start taking these girls up and convince them to fly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Setting aside NASCAR nuts and a giraffe from Wisconsin, how is a houseboat next to a nuclear plant for $2,500 a good thing?
You know what? That's how you Will, that's how you get superpowers. Don't you watch Smallville?
I've been watching your videos.
I was telling him about the clip that I lost.
Oh yeah, that guy was
Eric's buddy.
Yeah, that guy's sitting there talking. He's like, oh yeah, I just go to a dock and then I find an old widow that'll take care of me for the night. And then I move on down the river to another dock.
Yeah, I kind of blocked that part of the conversation out, but it was on my video. And I wanted it on there.
You guys live on a lake, don't you?
Just a little 25-acre lake.
You guys fish?
Eric does not, because he doesn't call this fishing. My son does, and he's been duck hunting out here now the last couple of weeks. And
I missed duck hunting.
I never went fishing this year at all. I barely even took the kayak out. I was so flipping lazy going out there.
So you guys don't do your own fish fries or nothing? Because I know Wisconsin's huge for Friday fish fries.
Oh, we'll go out for them, yeah.
Yeah, miss those.
Yeah.
There's very little places here that have a fish fry.
When we ask where's a good fish fry, they just look at you like, what? What's
in an old fashioned?
Yes, granny old fashioned.
You're talking my language, girl.
Right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people don't know that out there. They look at you like, where are you from? What? You don't know what a Friday fish fry is?
You know what a pig is?
Or hot ham and rolls on Sunday. You guys got hot ham and rolls on Sunday?
Oh, Eric says at one of the grocery stores, yes. Otherwise, it's chicken.
Otherwise, it's chicken.
Jay, they don't have nowhere here has hot ham and rolls.
No. You asked
What
for
are
hot
you saying?
rolls,
Hot ham rolls?
Hot ham and rolls.
Ham and rolls.
Yeah, that was back. Are you kidding me? What was that place called? O'Reilly? Not O'Reilly's. That's an auto store. What's the one that we always used to go down the street and get the hot ham and rolls? That old Irish guy.
I know.
So you buying your ham and rolls at O'Reilly's?
No, not O'Reilly, but it was an Irish guy. And it was every Sunday we'd get hot ham and rolls. You get 6 buns, hot ham, and then potato salad and a thing of beans for like $6 or $10.
Perfect way to watch the Packer game.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We'd get that on Sundays.
Yeah, I guess I do remember my mom getting the poppy seed buns and mayo and ham and cheese and heating them up. Yeah. Stop it, making Eric hungry.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
And Will.
Hey, Will, you better be around next Tuesday.
What's next Tuesday?
Shut the hell up. Do not.
What are you going to call it now? Now, we can't say hanging out with
it's just a Tuesday night hangout for everybody to go to. I mean, as I said before, it's just an educational way for us to all.
What's that address again?
Huh?
What'd you say, Louise?
I forgot the address again.
What did you say?
Forgot the address again.
Oh, come on, Louise. You're killing me.
You know what? You know what's gonna really suck is that when the show
I
takes
just
off,
can't remember it.
he's gonna come. How did this show grow so huge?
Yeah, we might not let you back in, Shane. We know you're listening in the background.
Yeah.
And knocking down tile in his bathroom. Because you know Chris was saying, don't be listening to that shit. Get back. I said I wanted a boudet.
And Krista's drinking water.
What?
Yeah.
I
She's
can't
not
tell.
even
Like a million miles away. She's like this big.
She's
Really?
so quiet.
Really?
Yeah, you just like
huge. Here's my water.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Here's my check. Huh?
What's up with the water?
Dehydration? I don't know.
You
I
always
drink
got a
water.
beer on you.
He's playing
I
Foreman.
feel like it. Stop. Go. My bottle.
Jack off.
Jack, go.
Jack off. Or, hi, Jack. Hi, Jack.
oh my God.
But you know what? Hey, if he's as talented as he says he is, that bathroom shouldn't take him more than a weekend to knock out and finish it. No,
Well,
I agree.
I was talking to
one
him.
mansion. I mean,
I
come
was
on.
talking to him. I said, you know, that we're gonna have to come down there right after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, and we'll get all this shit done that you need to get done. He goes, oh, by then I'll have it all done. We'll have to go camping or something. And I'm thinking, okay, I know how projects go.
Right.
And this project right here, that's, you know, that in this room, this was like a year in progress, and I still don't have trim all the way out.
See the white?
Yeah, you can see I'm working
It
on trim.
pointed out. It's a great room, but the instant he points out the flaws.
Oh yeah. Well, on top of that, we didn't even get it finished, and then the storm came through and peeled up the shingles, and all of this wood has to be replaced.
Oh my, that's an insurance claim.
It is, and now I'm fighting with insurance because those idiots said that they expect a contractor to come in, and this is all cedar, come in, pull the cedar down, clean it up, restain it, and put it back up. Anybody knows anything about cedar,
Wow.
It gets very crispy, and
Yep.
they're like, there's not one board that won't break when they pull it down.
Yep, it flakes.
Yeah, so
Holy, you know what? Insurance companies, the best thing that they always say, it's an act of God.
Well, it was a
Well,
rainstorm.
I know, but that's what they say is that's it's an act of God.
well, the thing is a year ago, we had a brand new fifth wheel that it's a long story. It ended up having a brand new fifth wheel, ended up having $20,000 worth of damage, and the damage happened not when it was in our possession. And it happened when it was at the dealer's possession. And everybody said, not our problem, not our problem. And then our insurance said that they would give me, what happened was is a tree limb must have fallen on the fifth wheel when it was at the dealership. And then it sat there and just rotted, and it wiped out a whole bathroom. Our insurance, which is State Farm, not frickin' Joe's insurance down the road, they said that they would give me the dime size patch, that the little pinhole that was up there, but the rest of it was my problem because it happened over the course of time.
Oh my God.
So that's the story on why, we had the brand new fifth wheel when we showed up down at Bad Apples, because we traded in our old one and picked up the new one. Because I ain't having no broken down ass shit.
Right?
Are you still with the farm?
Yeah, right.
Why did
Unfortunately, yes. Oh, sorry, Will. Go again.
We've
Why
seen
didn't
we've seen a thing or two.
Why didn't the dealership's insurance or the dealership cover that?
Because they're assholes and they refuse to do anything. And what I should have done is hired a lawyer and pursued it. But there comes a point in my life where I have to pick and choose my battles. And I was so exhausted on fighting everybody. I fought with my insurance on it. Why didn't my insurance cover it and then go after their insurance?
Yeah.
And I actually suggested that to State Farm, and he's like, "Whoa, we don't want to do that. We might get stuck with it." And I'm like, "Really?" I had better insurance when I dealt with, I don't know, Progressive. So here's the thing. On my business insurance, I have a company out of Michigan. It's called Frankenmuth, and that's my business insurance. My insurance, and I go through a insurance broker. My broker will, if I wreck a vehicle, which I'm known to wreck a lot of shit. So my insurance guy, I call him up. Yep, I just ripped off the side of my truck. He just goes, take it to the body shop, get it fixed. We'll get it covered.
That's the kind of insurance you want.
Well, I pay for it, but they call me or I call them. I tell them I just totaled something else out. No problem. We'll get it covered. I go and I frickin' buy the fifth wheel. I get full coverage, everything. And then, that's our personal insurance. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you the little pasty that you need to push on there and you'll be good. Like, really? So don't get me started on insurance.
I hope you get insurance on those Honda, Jade, just so you know.
Yeah, actually, we don't have any insurance on them things.
Yeah, you might want to get some insurance on those. Sounds like Eric fucks a lot of shit up.
It's usually side mirrors.
So your all's insurance company is called Frankenmoose?
What?
Frankenmoose? Really?
Yes, my business insurance is Frankenmuth Insurance.
Frank and Moose. That sounds like it's Wisconsin insurance.
Frankenmuth.
Kind of like Halloween.
Cartoon.
Yeah.
Moose?
Not moose.
Oh, good Lord. You know what? Next Tuesday night, go out to dinner. Never mind. Anyway.
We'll tell you all about it later, Will.
Yeah, right.
So what's the platform going to be for next Tuesday, Eric? Since you're going to be
nothing's going to change. It's just going to be the same shit show that it is on every other Tuesday night. I ain't changing nothing. We're just going to roll with it, wing it.
You need to come up with something that we need to rip on Shane for, since he's not going to be there, which he's going to walk. Because he's going to have to retort with something. So
he'll be there. He'll be in the background listening. Somebody, I think it was Nick Griffith. He said last night, these shows are what they're educational for us all. They keep us all together. They keep us all talking. They keep us all informed. And that's what we want to do is I don't. What else am I going to do? Like I told Jay, we don't have a life. And obviously there's other people out there that really don't have a life. I don't want to say it like that, but I mean, seriously, this is our life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose that Tuesday night life. That's one thing I actually look forward to is, God, does my life suck?
I love you guys. Like finish that.
That's what you should call it. Tuesday night. Let's talk.
Say that again, Will.
I was saying, God forbid you do something productive like finish that ceiling.
Well, hell no.
Like what? Back to Shane though. But I saw a video that Shane went to a fly-in and brought shit to do his trailer with, and people are putting his
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark showed up. That was Moonshiners. Mark showed.
So don't tell me that Shane doesn't have people to do his bathroom for him.
Hi.
I saw that video. I'm like, they're in a fly-in and they're putting in flooring in his trailer.
Yeah, but it rained.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
know.
that was well, so Mark brought the flooring out because Mark owns or used to own or has a connection with flooring company.
But he's
So
home, isn't he?
No, he's not.
oh, not anymore. He's not homeless anymore. He's renting a house. He sold. Okay, so Mark's story is he had a big, beautiful home that it was just him and his wife. It's totally not needed for them to. And he absolutely hated mowing the lawn. And I think he said he had 5 acres of grass to mow.
Oh,
Holy shit.
So yeah, so he wanted to get rid of it. So they sold that house, but because of the price of lumber, they're just renting a home right now. So that's our standing joke with the guy is he's homeless,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, no, he's just waiting right now to build a home. So, but I definitely think, Krista, we should come down and give you guys a hand on whatever you need. You know, I can mess shit up. I mean, I got proof.
Eric, you're not the only one that can mess shit up. Come on now.
Right?
Hey,
I can start a project all day long.
Yeah.
Finishing them is a different story.
Eric, did you sell all those little paramotor guys? I know you said you had 10 of them. Did everybody contact you and said, "Oh, I want one, I want"? So are you sold out of those little paramotor guys?
No, I'm picking them up. I have Mark wants one. Mark McElroy wants one because the clay one, okay, so Mark throws jabs at me every day, which I love. I absolutely love the jabs that he throws at me, which is pretty funny. But he made me feel good about it. He's like, I want one of the plastic ones. I go, Mark, what did you do with the one that we gave you? And he goes, well, I'm not going to let it sit in my truck and get beat up in the hot temperatures. So I keep it in the motorhome when I go to fly-ins. And then when I'm not at a fly-in, I keep it in my closet hung up. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. He goes, it's actually something that means something to me. So he wants the plastic one to throw into his truck to get it beat around. And then Shane wants one so he can do his paramotor guy videos. He doesn't want to
those videos that he's going to create.
Well, he's been talking about it for a while, and it's going to be cool, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
See, now that you guys sent me one, my brother wants one. I'm like, I don't know if I can get you one.
Yeah, we can get you one. I talked to him.
I think you need to sell them a little bit more expensive than $35.
Well, I'm not making no money. They're $34 and is what I'm paying for them now. The clay ones were 33. But he's selling these for 34 now.
$50. You want one? Demand $50.
I ain't looking to make no money. I just that's why I was giving them away. I gave them to the people that are on our shows, and also to some of the new pilots that were making their first flights. So, but
Randy wants one.
What's that?
I'm sorry, what?
Randy wants one.
Randy wants one.
Randy wants.
Oh, Randy, yeah, I could get one.
You better start writing these down.
I ain't writing shit down. Just remind me later when I get them. I'm picking them up this weekend. So
I think I need to get a 3D printer and start making these.
I know that's what I was trying to do. And
I think not only that, but you could do it like Girls Just Want to Fly, and you could have just the Girls Want to Fly, so that it's a girl paramotor.
yeah,
Doesn't sound like it would be too hard to do.
it would be if you have no clue on how to run a 3D printer.
That would be.
because I went last year already talking to one of the 3D printer. Well, he wasn't teaching it really, but he had like 5 3D printers in there in the school. And he's like, yeah, you could do this yourself. I could actually give you the program. There's a couple free programs, but it's learning the programming.
Yeah, but 3D printers are really not that expensive.
No, they're not, but it's learning the program to do it. Cause I took in my paramotor and he's like, yeah, you can try it on your own. I'll give you the product to try it.
Will's got to have the know-how. He's computer savvy.
I don't know the first thing about that. I've always been intrigued about 3D printing, but I don't know the first thing about them.
It's all about clicking.
Yeah, and knowing what to click and when. Yeah.
Those things are cool. I tell you, those are a hot item.
Yeah, I've looked at they got different they've got this website, I think, where it's nothing but free. You download the file and then you can actually print it out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name.
Have you ever guys had one of those remote control paramotor, like an RC car or whatever, but they're paramotors that actually have a wing and they take off and go, you know what I'm saying? I've seen it's like a remote control car, but it's a paramotor. It's like actually a little thing that you fly.
Oh yeah, we've seen those at the fly-in.
Yep.
Yeah. What about those? I mean, it's just like an RC car. Wouldn't that be perfect sitting at a fly-in? It's not flying, but it's cool enough to fly one of those. I think that would
Will and I were chasing one of them.
Yeah. Well, Jade was chasing one of them.
that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Novelty things in this sport is big.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, look at your t-shirts. She can't get enough of the t-shirt, the spare swag or whatever. Oh,
Paraswag?
yeah.
Yeah.
Love those t-shirts. Love the most softest t-shirts you've ever had. They're great.
Paraswag.
Huh?
Not the Paraswag. Those aren't the soft one. It's
Paralife.
Parallel. That's
so,
it.
yeah. Marks are so small, so soft. Mark McElroy.
Those are the best.
And
That's
Deweese and Angela, the shirt, or Deweese's shirt is from that same company.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not tell me.
She's wearing one right now. Way to represent, girl.
And it's in the back too.
That's my shirt too. I'd be wearing it, but it's too hot.
So this is the exact same shirt that Mark has.
Mhm.
Oh wow, the
Yeah,
socks.
Show them what you're doing with your.
But mine have my company logo on there.
So soft.
If you look at it, it's so I own a sheet metal shop. If you look at it, it's galvanized.
Oh, his company on there.
So it's galvanized lettering.
Eric, you got all that skills. Are you guys going to develop your own trike?
No.
You have
Eric,
perfect
I don't
timing.
want- Come back, Eric. With the shirt. So there's a shirt that I get off of Amazon. I think it's called Level 1 or something, but it's 60% cotton, 40% polyester. Is that what that is?
This is 50-50.
50-50. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because the 60-40 is like really soft, but Paralife's is just a little bit softer. So I bet that's why.
I don't make her wash them in the washing machine because I don't like it.
That's the company.
Check out Eric's pants.
Shut the hell up. Leave me alone. Just, you know what? Why don't you go find friends?
Is it
I don't
belt?
have my glasses on.
Is it hippie night? We're gonna have a Tuesday
No, they're
hippie night.
flannel.
I don't know what it
Stud
was.
puffins.
Hey, they're my lounge pants and they say stud puffin and they got a
Oh,
little birds on it. Anyway.
You know,
You got
Jade's gonna come out with all sorts of cool shit because you know what? Guys love wearing bottoms.
Yeah.
Make a paramotor
You like wearing what?
bottoms. Paramotor, like what Eric's wearing, BJ's.
Oh,
I don't know what you
wow.
call them. pajamas,
I was
pants.
thinking I could do boxers and do paramotor boxers.
Absolutely. Where you have the fan right by the crotch.
Oh God.
That would probably be more on the butt.
Butt fan, exactly. There's the butt plug.
I'm going to bed.
You guys are out?
Going to bed.
All right,
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
I need to
notice-
send everybody to bed here too.
You
Bye.
notice- you know,
Hey,
Chris the Cupcake had to come in after the butt plug and said, "I'm out. I'm going at night." Okay.
night, Chris.
See you next time.
Have a good
Hey.
rest of the week, Krista.
Drinking.
I think you're onto something with the boxer shorts and the paramotor in the front, because Wiener would come out and spin like, you know what I mean? That would be cool. I think us guys could have fun with that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Hey, do you realize that if you sold thongs that had a paramotor on them, you would sell those at fly-ins?
I think I agree with that, Eric.
No, I'm dead serious. You want to know why? Because when I raced, I had thongs that said my number, which was 169. Oh, I gotta go get my shirt. And those things sold.
First of all, that wouldn't fit on yours, Eric. It would have to be like the number 1 or, like single digit. But 169, come on now. Yeah, Eric, it was 173472189.
On that note,
What?
what
you say?
He went to get his underwear, didn't he?
No, he's heat pressing shirts over there. So that's our mess over there. And that's our awning, Will.
What
Laying
is
on
it?
the floor. The awning, the new awning.
Oh, you haven't put it up yet?
No. Want to come up and help?
No. Man, that made a hellacious noise.
Found the scissors.
Man. So was that an insurance claim or did you just buy a new one?
No, I just bought a new one.
Yeah.
He put a new awning on ours.
Eric, don't mess around. It don't work. I buy a new one.
Man,
He put a new awning on ours, and we fought for 2 days.
Luis, do you want to be a guest next week?
Yeah, if you don't ask me any hard questions.
I don't have a guest next week.
I'll cheer you.
Otherwise, what?
I'll cheer her on. I said
No,
I'll
you
cheer
need to be
her
a
on.
guest next week.
Oh, yeah, I can be a guest,
Okay.
but you can't ask me any hard questions.
No. I have a gal the following week, and then after that, I don't have anybody. It's like I try to go into that. Ouch! I try to go into that paramotor fly girl, and I get responses of, "Oh, I don't fly anymore," or "I don't fly," or "I'm too shy," and I'm like,
If you need the Spanish speaking interpreter, I can get you one.
she backed out.
Okay.
I messaged her last week after you said that, and the gal, she responded back, and she said, "I work, I can't do this." I'm like, all right, sorry to bother you.
Will, keep your mop handy. and the little globe earrings.
I was really hoping that Halloween was gonna fall on our day, but it's a David Wolf day, so.
Oh,
I'm sorry. That was that. Well,
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't watch Sundays anymore.
But we could do show as
I'm not gonna lie, it's football. I don't have time.
but we could do a dress up on the 27th show, do a fun one,
Oh boy.
and just have a bunch of
Yes, that would be awesome.
dress
Can
up as something.
Guests dress up too?
What?
Can some of us in the audience dress up too?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh boy.
Halloween, yeah.
Yeah. So
Sure.
we'll
You know,
do that.
This
I
is a
get
really
my
small community, and getting guests on a weekly basis must be incredibly difficult.
I go on, Will, as soon as
No,
I lay down in
no,
bed
or-
and I try
or-
to
Or horizontal.
I try to reach out to 2 or 3 ladies and hope by morning I have a response. And it's just lately I've been getting a thanks
my
for your
motto.
thanks type thing.
Yeah,
Will got that one.
I got it. I hope I get a response from one of them at least by morning.
Right. But I'm not.
Well, but what I'm saying is it, there has to be, I would think, allowance in the format for to take away the pressure of having to get a guest every week. You know what I mean? Or if there is a cancellation, well, we'll turn it into a fun show or open chat or.
Well, that's why I'm thinking I'm going to have to open it up to not just girls want to fly, because it's starting to irritate me that David Wolf is getting girls more and more. And that girl that was on last week, I reached out to her and she never responded to me. And I reached out to her about 2 months ago.
Oh.
So
Another reason why I don't watch.
So-
what about
Right.
your friend Lily?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, that's why I think a lot of times you just need to have open chat. You need just to open up and just let everybody just talk.
But the thing is, when there's like 6 people in here, you saw how it was like last week with 14. It was very hard to talk.
The first come, first serve. We only have 6 slots. Whoever's comes on first or whatever, or y'all can take turns.
Well,
Do a-
exactly right. First come, first serve.
Right.
Yep.
Just limit how many people you're gonna let in.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, and what about Lily tonight? She said her friend that flies too.
That Abby.
True.
That was perfect.
Right.
Well, are you kidding me? You say, you know what? Come back on my show. Bring your friend. Oh, that would be a great show.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I would really like to get some of the past gals on too at some point, just to see where they're at. I've reached out to a couple of them, like that Tammy French. Do you remember she was in Idaho?
Yep.
I feel bad that she lost respect in her instructor and felt like she was being pushed into the sky when she didn't know everything and she hurt herself. And she says, I'm done. I need to find a different instructor. She says, but I continue to kite. But until I find somebody else, I'm not going to have that guy try to take me and hurt me, put me in the sky when I felt he didn't know what he was even doing. So I know I'm trying to reach out to everybody because it's like, I'm hoping someday I can meet some of these people.
And
Okay.
what about Michelle?
Tony or Angela, anyway, one of them gave you a golden suggestion that it's just like sales, when you go sell something and the next question's pretty much, well, who do you know who could also benefit or whatever? I mean, so they're already flying. So they probably do know a handful of people. That's a great idea.
Right.
And that Michelle, I started following her daughter that just became a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing is when you get these guests on, people don't know, and then you start following them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about. I mean, this girl tonight, I have no clue, and now she sends, and I'll check her out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's got to be incentive for people to come on your show. Like, okay, I'll come on your show and look how many followers you got. I mean, it might be a couple, but so what? To start.
What if you just did two?
Hey,
open-
don't stress.
Hang on. I can't hear both of you. Will, what?
Well, no, he wasn't finished. Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Well, okay. So I was just going to say, what if you just, had 2 open chats a month and 2 guest chats a month or something like that? Just to, these are just ideas. They are certainly not options. I mean, I don't know the first thing about running.
No, I like that idea. I think it's a great idea.
Just limit how many people are in your chat. So you don't have like a massive amount of people talking at one time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, like tonight's guest, she said, "Oh, I saw Michelle, I stalk her, and this and that." Well, now bring them on the show and let them introduce each other and say, "Oh yeah, okay." That's that's a great idea. I like it. Oh, you're on it.
But would it be bad if I had guys on the show?
No.
As long as you dress up with wigs, apparently.
I don't think it would be bad, but it doesn't set you apart as much as what you've got now. And you really are doing fantastic as far as the numbers and stuff are going. Yeah. So don't feel like you have to do that. I think if you just got a few people together and you all started talking, someone's bound to have a problem or something funny to them that day, or they're struggling with something to do with flying.
Yeah, I think Will's right. If you compromise and start having a lot of guys on, then you're not going to be just girls just want to fly.
Okay.
Which is the thing.
And she makes the point, because I mean that's what you're all about. Girls want to fly. It's a girl show. If you're not going to put a wig on, you can't come on. Not until after show, but on your show, it's all about girls.
Hey, and one other quick thing is, you know how like you put the notice yesterday about the show, or was it Monday? But I can't share it.
Why can't you share it?
It won't let me. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jade?
Yeah.
It's Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I shared something too I posted something too, and someone said, "Could you make it shareable?" But I don't know how to do that either.
I don't know.
I don't do Facebook. I don't Facebook.
What?
He's got to be clicking and doing things.
Eric's bored.
So, Deweese, do you know how to make it shareable?
No, not from YouTube to Facebook. I don't.
Oh.
But I can try.
Yeah.
I can see. I don't.
To Facebook, I have no idea. I don't know what that even. How do you do that?
I don't know if the two are. I don't know if you can do that with the 2 separate ones.
I think if Jade reached out to some of her past guests and talked to them, like Michelle's daughter, there's a connection. The girl, Lily tonight, and then you have Lily's friend. They know females that are into aviation. I guarantee Michelle knows other pilots that are in aviation, and girls like to talk about themselves. No offense, girls, but they like. Don't stab me with them scissors. Girls like to